Chapter 651. In just a few minutes, all the elite students had basically formed their teams, forming small groups. Even Feng Qiudao had found Bai Qingqing, Lu Chao, and the other top 10 experts to form a team. However, Xiaoping was still alone. I didn't expect that brat Xiaoping to not be invited. He is still the champion, but he is so miserable and alone. Although he is number 1 now, it will be different once he enters the Sky Demon battlefield. Indeed, some experts at the peak of the 9th rank of Martial Master can reach the Grandmaster realm the moment they enter the Sky Demon battlefield. Their strength will increase several times, so it is incomparable to now. That's right. Although that brat is at the 8th rank of Martial Master, he is still far from the Grandmaster realm. No matter how talented he is, he won't be able to display much of his strength in the Sky Demon battlefield for 3 months. Although that is the case, he is still very strong. If he reaches the 9th rank of Martial Master, it will be even more amazing. The reason why such a thing happened is because this guy's personality is too terrible. He's detestable. Isn't that so? Who would want to be with this bastard? Aren't they afraid of being stabbed in the back by this brat? Even if you beat me to death, I don't want to team up with this guy. Serves him right. Who told him to be so arrogant? Many elite students sneered and looked at Xiaoping with schadenfreude. They had long planned to isolate this brat. Even though they couldn't kill each other because they were all human geniuses, it was fine to punish him and disgust him a little. There were some elite students who didn't hate Xiaoping, but they didn't like him either. It was impossible for them to lend a helping hand, so they could only watch from the sidelines. Xiaoping had an indifferent expression. He didn't care. Although forming a group and working together was indeed a good choice, it was best for him to act alone because he had many secrets that he could not reveal. If he got too close to this group of people, there would be a risk of his secrets being leaked. This kind of situation was exactly what he wanted. If someone wanted to team up with him, he would refuse. Most importantly, he had the ability to act alone. Even if he was alone in the Sky Demon battlefield, he would be able to obtain great benefits without the help of others. Boom. All of a sudden, the super battleship shuddered. No one knew what it did, but a huge wormhole opened up in the distance. It seemed to be a stable spatial tunnel. Immediately, a mechanical voice sounded, "Space jump commencing. Everyone, please get ready and fasten your seatbelts." Crash! Suddenly, a mass of energy surged out from the battleship, instantly enveloping the elite students present. It seemed to form an energy shield, protecting everyone's life. Space jump. Xiaoping's body trembled. He didn't expect to see the super battleship's space jump ability at this time. He had been on this battleship before, but he only flew at full speed and didn't use space jump. However, this was understandable. A single spatial jump required a large amount of energy. If there was no need, one would naturally choose to fly. Now, in order to head to the Heavenly Demon battlefield and save time, the super warship opened up a wormhole and flew in. Whoosh! Instantly, the super battleship entered the wormhole. It was as if it had entered a strange world of photon plane. It was pitch black all around, and one couldn't even see their fingers in front of them. A tyrannical power of space pressed over. It seemed to be hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of times the gravity. If it wasn't for the protection of the energy shield, they would immediately be pressed into meat paste. But even so, all the elite students, including Xiaoping, felt their consciousness blur. It seemed that even their souls were under a powerful pressure, and they couldn't maintain their consciousness. Boom! After an unknown amount of time, the entire super battleship flew out from the other side of the wormhole and appeared in a vast and boundless super mountain range. There were many mountains. The surroundings were filled with a savage aura. In the depths of the forest, there seemed to be many terrifying wild beasts. However, at this time, they were all prostrating as if they were afraid of this super battleship's destructive aura. What? We've arrived. Some elite students immediately noticed the light outside the battleship's windows. They also discovered that the scenery had changed. They were no longer in Yanhuang University but in another region. "Yes, we've arrived near the Heavenly Demon battlefield," an elite student said in a deep voice. Someone immediately exclaimed, "Unbelievable. I just checked the time. Only 1 second has passed." The Heavenly Demon battlefield and Yanhuang University are at least 3 million kilometers apart. Oh my god, we've arrived in 1 second. This is a space jump. Actually, the wormhole theory existed 1,000 years ago, but who knows how difficult it is to achieve a space jump. Indeed, if it weren't for the relic's technology, who knows how much time humans would have to spend. Just the energy, space calculations, spaceship engines, materials, and so on have stumped countless scientists. What an eye-opener. I finally know how powerful a space jump is. I wonder if I can buy such a super battleship to play around with? If I can buy one, it'll be awesome. This is simply a dream. A battleship that can space jump costs at least 5 trillion. Even if you sell your entire family, you might not be able to gather that much money. Tisk tsk, even for a king tier, this is a rather extravagant toy. Many elite students were very surprised. Some wanted to buy one, but they were scared half to death when they heard the price. This was not a toy they could afford at all. Even if they advanced to the king tier, there might not be many people who could afford it. Amazing. Xiaoping also clenched his fists. His desire for a super battleship grew. Although 5 trillion federal dollars was a lot, he now had more than 100 billion. He believed that he would soon be able to gather the money. When that time came, wouldn't he be able to do whatever he wanted in the cloud realm? We've arrived at the heavenly demon battlefield. Lu Xuan's voice sounded again. In a while you will be directly transported to the heavenly demon battlefield. I believe you have also noticed that each of you has a Demon King talisman. This talisman contains a unique energy that can protect you from being eroded by the evil aura in the heavenly demon battlefield. At the same time, it also contains a spatial mark. After 3 months, you can tear this Demon King talisman and instantly return to this world. But don't lose it or you will forever stay in the heavenly demon battlefield. Xiaoping and the others immediately discovered that they had a golden talisman on them. It seemed to emit a mysterious energy that was unfathomable. At the same time, this talisman also formed a connection with their minds. It seemed that they could activate this talisman with a thought. Boom, in the distant sky, a huge black portal appeared out of nowhere. There was a spatial vortex inside. It was pitch black and no one knew where it led to. The elite students present felt their bodies tremble as they were surrounded by a mass of energy. They were instantly transported away and thrown into this black portal. Chapter 652. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In the next second, Xiaoping and the others appeared on a plain. There were weeds everywhere, stretching for hundreds of miles, stretching as far as the eye could see. This is the Sky Demon battlefield? Some elite students stood up in shock and looked around. They discovered that the sky was blood-red and filled with killing intent. It seemed to be filled with death, slaughter, and other negative auras. If they stayed here for too long, their souls would probably be contaminated and they would become mindless demons. Fortunately, they had the Demon King talisman with them, which had 3 months' worth of energy. It could ensure that they wouldn't be corroded by the killing intent for 3 months and could survive safely. But after 3 months, if they didn't leave, they would probably die in the Sky Demon battlefield. As expected of a battlefield, this place has experienced an earth-shattering battle. An elite student sighed. This was because he discovered that there were ruins everywhere on the grassland. There were huge cracks that stretched for dozens of kilometers. Some had even become unfathomably deep abysses. If a stone fell, the sound would only be heard 10 minutes later. There were also huge craters on the ground. It was a shocking scene. There was a huge palm print. The crater contained endless killing intent. It was incomparably huge with a diameter of 2 to 3 kilometers. There was also a footprint. It seemed that a huge creature had stomped on the void, immediately creating a crater with a diameter of 4 to 5 kilometers. It was impossible to imagine how huge the creature was. There was also a skeleton lying in a crater. It was thousands of meters tall, and every bone was like a tree. There was runic power circulating on it. Even after countless years, these bones didn't seem to have been weathered. It was as if they hadn't changed since ancient times. If one dared to approach, they would immediately be invaded by the killing intent contained in the skeleton and have their souls destroyed. Many elite students were incomparably shocked. They couldn't imagine how terrifying the ancient demon race was. If humans from that era came, they would probably be killed. The heaven and earth spiritual qi is also very rich. Xiaoping's eyes flickered. He could also feel that this was indeed a paradise. The spiritual qi was more than 100 times richer than the outside world. In such an environment, many spiritual herbs would probably be born. Since we've arrived at the Sky Demon battlefield, let's bid farewell here. Right. Life and death are up to fate. What treasures we can find will depend on our own luck. Everyone take care. If we survive, we'll drink again. After seeing the surroundings, many elite students also came back to their senses. They all cupped their fists and went their separate ways to search for treasures in various parts of the heavenly demon battlefield. All of them had enormous clans standing behind them, and they possessed shocking forces and were well informed. So, they'd long since found out from their various channels where they could obtain treasures in the Sky Demon battlefield. Therefore, they would not waste time in this place and immediately set off for the destination that they had long thought of. Feng Qiudao and the others were very decisive. They seemed to have already decided on their destination. One by one, they left quickly and disappeared from everyone's sight. Originally, Xiaoping also wanted to immediately set off to a mysterious valley to find the white spirit ginseng fruit that Qiushu had mentioned. However, when he spread out his mental power, he suddenly sensed a sound coming from afar. Hehe, follow me. Earlier, I spent a large sum of money to buy information from a core student. I know that there is a spirit spring in a nameless valley several hundred li away from this grassland. The person who spoke was called Tyrant Jia. At this moment he was very proud of himself. That spirit spring is extremely well hidden and contains a large amount of spirit liquid. If we reach that place, finding 10 kilograms of spirit liquid will be a piece of cake. Of course, that valley is guarded by powerful wild beasts. We'll need everyone's help. However, once we succeed, we won't have to worry about not being able to complete the mission. We'll be able to search for treasures in the Sky Demon battlefield. He used a secret technique to send a voice transmission. The surrounding people were all elite students, including Lian Jingshun and other experts who had entered the top 100. After hearing this news, they were all very tempted. There's a spirit spring? We're going to be rich. Xiaoping's eyes immediately lit up. He didn't expect to eavesdrop on such a secret. This kid probably thought that by sending a voice transmission, others wouldn't be able to eavesdrop on his secret. In reality, this was indeed the case. Using this secret technique, even if the walls had ears, they wouldn't be able to hear it. The problem was that there was a freak like Xiaoping in this world. His mental power was many times stronger than experts of the same level. At the same time, he cultivated the 8 heavenly dragons' music and the epic of heaven. This also made him extremely sensitive to all kinds of sounds. Even the sound of a mosquito wouldn't be able to escape his ears as long as it didn't exceed 3 kilometers. This was probably similar to the legendary Clairaudient. Brother 2, I didn't expect you to share such important news. You're really broad-minded. That's right. Thank you, Brother 2, for your guidance. If we get any benefits, we naturally won't forget Brother 2 in the future. In the future, we'll follow Brother 2 and live a good life. We'll follow Brother 2's lead. Lian Jingshun and the others were all sucking up to him. This was to be expected. Since he had taken out such important news to share, they might get huge benefits and become rich overnight. What was a few words of flattery? If someone wanted to give you a few 100 million as pocket money, you'd probably call them daddy. You're too polite, too polite. We still need everyone's help to survive in the Sky Demon battlefield and soar to the sky. Tu Haojia was in a very good mood. Of course, he had taken out this news not only to win over these elite students, but also because the savage beasts there were powerful and he needed help to deal with them. Therefore, he had invited these people to go with him. However, at the same time, he could gain the gratitude and friendship of these elite students. It would definitely be of great benefit to his future development. This was a strategy that killed many birds with one stone. Good people. This is a group of people who will give away money. I have to follow them and fish in troubled waters. Xiaoping touched his chin. Anyway, the white spirit ginseng fruit was in that valley. He estimated that no one would be able to find it in a short time, so it didn't matter if it was left there for the time being. Therefore, he might as well follow this group of elite students and obtain a large amount of spirit liquid. It wouldn't be too late to search for the white spirit ginseng later. After all, there were still 3 months. There was plenty of time. Moreover, he would never refuse a free ride like this. Let's not talk too much. Let's go now. Tu Haojia was in high spirits. He waved his hand and immediately led his team away, heading for the northern part of the grassland. Whoosh. He had clearly been following them for a day like a stalker, but now he was putting on an act, saying that it was a chance encounter. They had never seen such a thick-skinned person before. Xiaoping, we don't beat around the bush. Tyrant Hero said straightforwardly, I don't know why you want to follow us, but we really don't have any money and we don't have any secrets. There's no benefit in following us. That's right. Go and follow Feng Qiudao and the others. That's right, those bastards are the local tycoons. They have a lot of information. Only by following that group of people will you have meat to eat. If you follow us, Northwest Wind, you will have food to eat. Don't make things difficult for poor people like us. The group of elite students spoke up. You're too polite. Actually, this is really a coincidence. Xiaoping felt that he was wronged. I'm not following you guys. I just happened to be walking the same path as you guys. Coincidentally a bastard. Tyrant Hero and the others had the urge to beat Xiaoping up. The Sky Demon battlefield was so big. A day had passed and he had been following them every minute and second. How could he coincidentally be walking the same path? He was clearly lying through his teeth. Only fools would believe such words to trick children. Xiaoping, just continue following us. Lian Jingshun immediately shouted in anger, we don't have any secrets on us. There's no benefit in following us. It's just a waste of your time. Xiaoping smiled and said, it's fine. I have plenty of time. Bastard. Tyrant Hero and the others' faces turned green. They could tell that this bastard had used some unknown method to learn their secrets. That was why he had been following them all this time, hoping to get a free ride and fish in troubled waters to reap some benefits. The problem was that in order to obtain this information, they had paid an unknown price. They had been extorted by that core student. Now, that brat wanted to hitch a ride so easily and gain benefits. He was simply dreaming. Alright, then you can follow us slowly. Lian Jingshun and the others were determined. They would continue to waste time with Xiaoping. They didn't believe that this brat would keep following them. For the next 3 days they didn't go anywhere. They just circled around the forest trying to get rid of Xiaoping and wear out his patience. The problem was that no matter what method they used, they couldn't get rid of Xiaoping's tracking. They couldn't even wear out his patience. Xiaoping also took advantage of this period of time to break through another meridian. His quintessential essence had greatly increased, and he was breaking through to the 9th layer of Martial Master. It wouldn't be long before he could break through again. Therefore he wasn't anxious at all. He would slowly play with this group of people. We can't do it anymore. No matter what we do, that brat keeps following us. It seems that he plans to fight to the end with us. An elite student was in despair. That bastard was too annoying. He was even more annoying than a girlfriend. He followed them 24 hours a day and kept pestering them. Let's fight to the end. I don't believe that with that brat's ambition, he will continue to do such useless things. Whether it takes 10 days, 20 days, or a month, I will continue to waste time with him. Lian Jingshun was going crazy. He was a very stubborn person. A month? An elite student's expression changed. He was in a difficult position. That's too long. Even if this brat can waste time, we can't. That's right. The opportunity to enter the Heaven Demon battlefield is so precious. It's only once in a lifetime. Is it worth it to waste such a precious opportunity just because of a fit of pique? If he wants to hitch a ride, let him. This fellow is so thick-skinned. It's not a big deal to give him some benefits. That's right. I'm convinced by this slut. For the sake of benefits, he doesn't want any face. We can't beat him. Let's cooperate with him. Anyway, he's strong. It's not a disgrace to cooperate with him. The group of elite students was completely convinced. They didn't want to waste any more time. After all, it was just spirit liquid. It was nothing compared to the many spirit herbs, spirit fruits, treasured artifacts, and inheritances in the Heaven Demon battlefield. Wasting a month for that bit of spirit liquid was simply stupid. Chapter 654. All of you. Lian Jingxuan's expression became extremely unsightly when he heard this. He hadn't expected his companions to betray him and decide to negotiate with Xiaoping. Tu Hao looked at Lian Jingshun and said, Lian Jingshun, think about it carefully. Is fighting with Xiaoping more important or advancing to the King Realm more important? King Realm? Lian Jingxuan's entire body shook, and the unwillingness in his heart had finally calmed down. Indeed, if he continued to fight, it wouldn't be beneficial to him, and it would only cause both sides to suffer. If he continued to waste time and missed the various fortuitous encounters in the Heavenly Demon battlefield, then his entire life would be over. He wouldn't be able to advance to the King Realm, and he would forever be an ant. Alright, all of you are right. We can't fight, we have to be harmonious and focus on the bigger picture. Lian Jingshun took a deep breath. He compromised and decided to negotiate with Xiaoping. Swoosh. In next to no time, Tu Hao and the others arrived before Xiaoping once more. Xiaoping, you win. We compromise. Let's negotiate. Tu Hao and the others bared their teeth and stared at Xiaoping. Xiaoping revealed an innocent expression. Negotiate? That's too exaggerated. Others might think that I'm bullying all of you. I'm just passing by. Passing my ass. Even if Lian Jingshun wanted to negotiate with Xiaoping, he couldn't help but want to beat this fellow up. How shameless. He was still lying through his teeth at a time like this. Xiaoping, I won't waste my breath with you. Let's talk directly. Lian Jingshun gritted his teeth. We do know some secrets of the Heavenly Demon battlefield. We know the location of a spirit spring and we're planning to explore it. He revealed their group's secret. Oh, there's such a thing? What a shocking secret, Xiaoping said lazily. This bastard. How could they not know that their secret had been exposed when they saw Xiaoping's unsurprised expression? No wonder this bastard kept following them and refused to leave. Lian Jingshun was secretly glad that he compromised in time. Otherwise this kid would really follow him until the end of time. At that time he didn't know how much time he would waste. If you join us, we can share a portion of the benefits with you. The local tyrant felt very wronged as he said these words. Originally, with so many people dividing the spirit liquid, there shouldn't be much left. Now there was another bitch with a big appetite, Xiaoping. He reckoned that this fellow was the kind of person who would pluck feathers from a goose. He didn't know how much benefit he had to share to satisfy this kid's appetite. How could I do that? But since you've kindly invited me, I'll reluctantly accept. Xiaoping said carelessly, showing an expression as if it was an honor for him to join them. Lian Jingshun and the others were driven mad. They wanted to hammer this scoundrel to death. He had clearly taken advantage of them, yet he was still trying to show off. He was shameless to the extreme. However, since they had made such a decision, they immediately relaxed and no longer continued to go around in circles. They directly walked towards the location of the spirit spring. In less than 2 hours they finally arrived at the valley. As soon as he arrived at the valley, Xiaoping squinted his eyes. He immediately sensed an enormous demonic aura in the valley, soaring into the sky, and his blood and qi were overflowing. It wasn't just Xiaoping. The other elite students also sensed it. So. The valley shook and one demonic beast after another ran out. They seemed to have also sensed the unfamiliar aura outside. They were 4 to 5 meters tall, had horns on their heads and were covered in black scales. They held steel tridents in their hands and their eyes were red, filled with a crazy killing intent. Jia, humans are here. Lowly humans, all of them are our food. Kill them, these humans must be coveting the spirit spring here. Every human deserves to die, all of them deserve to die. They are only fit to be our food. One by one the demonic beasts roared. They seemed to have lost their minds and their minds were filled with the desire to kill. When they sensed the aura of humans they all rushed over in a frenzy. What's going on? Why are there so many demonic beasts? Some elite students were shocked because according to the information of the core students, there seemed to be only a dozen or so beasts in this valley. But now these demonic beasts occupied the valley, and there were hundreds of them. Furthermore, each of them was extremely terrifying, and they had the strength of a peak martial master. I don't know. Many years have passed and there are bound to be changes. This kind of change is unpredictable. The local tyrant didn't expect such a thing to happen. There were hundreds of peak martial master demonic beasts, and they would be a terrifying force no matter where they were. Stop talking nonsense, kill these demonic beasts. If they don't die then we will die. Lian Jingshun roared. He knew that now was not the time to chat. These demonic beasts were all experts in killing, and they were simply natural killing monsters. These demonic beasts attacked them, and they wouldn't give them any time to breathe. A bunch of ants. At this moment Xiaoping made his move. After a month of cultivation his martial arts strength had improved tremendously. His entire body exploded with a mountain-like aura. He circulated the pure young immortal art in his body, and the cells of the golden crow of hell seemed to be trembling. Flames surged out from the 108,000 pores on his body, and a divine bird totem seemed to condense on his back. Dong. He punched out, and it was as if he had mobilized the power of fire in the heaven and earth, and a great power like a flood burst out. The flames condensed into a divine bird, flying in all directions. Bang bang bang. These flaming divine birds fiercely bombarded the demonic beasts, and the terrifying essence of the sun immediately descended, burning their internal organs. In an instant the demonic aura on their bodies was ignited, as if fire had met gasoline. Ah! Suddenly these demonic beasts let out shrill screams, as if they were human beings who had spontaneously combusted. They were almost burnt to the point of not looking human, and the intense pain extended to the depths of their souls, making them almost collapse. Good opportunity kill? Seeing this, the local tyrant and the others immediately knew that this was the best opportunity. These demonic beasts had been shamelessly and miserably beaten by Xiaoping, and had lost more than half of their combat strength. If they didn't kill them now, when would they? Whoosh whoosh whoosh. One by one they attacked, some with swords, some with knives, some with spears and some with bare hands, but each of them displayed the terrifying power of a peak martial master. It could only be said that they were indeed the elites of humanity. Each of them was like a humanoid Gundam, able to tear down buildings with their bare hands. In a few breaths, in the valley hundreds of demonic beasts were killed, and their corpses were cut into dozens of pieces. Chapter 655. This feels great. An elite student felt extremely delighted. He didn't think that killing demons would be so easy. One punch was enough to kill one, and their bodies exploded without any effort. Normally these demons were invulnerable. Ordinary blades and swords wouldn't be able to injure them. Killing one would require a huge price. Facing over 100 demons, even if they could win, a few of them would die. But with Xia Ping in this place, things were completely different. With a single move, he could seriously injure these evil devils. Then they could easily wipe them out and completely eradicate them. It was countless times easier. This was also very normal. Xia Ping cultivated the pure yang immortal art, which absorbed the essence of the sun. It was the strongest and fiercest flame power. It could be said to be the nemesis of these demons, and its killing power was multiplied. When those demons touched the flames, they were immediately half dead. Their scales melted, and without their tough outer armor, they were just lambs waiting to be slaughtered. This guy is too strong. Tyrant Jier and the others couldn't help but admire Xia Ping. The champion of the genius contest, the youngest champion in history. He defeated Feng Qiudao in the finals, and was said to have the potential to become an invincible king. A person's reputation was like a tree's shadow. Although they had heard of Xia Ping's fame and seen his battles, only now did they truly feel this kid's strength and valiance. With such a companion they felt much more at ease. It was as if he could crush any difficulty. His personality is just a little bad. Lian Jingshun bared his teeth. He couldn't help but admire Xia Ping's strength. If Xia Ping hadn't joined, who knew how many of them would have died? The problem was that this kid was too annoying and no one liked him. But then again, if it wasn't for this kid being so annoying, he probably wouldn't have joined their team. Let's go in. Xia Ping didn't care what these people thought. He sensed that all the demons here had been killed, and the demonic qi had been swept clean. There was no longer any danger. He raised his foot and walked into the depths of the valley. Soon he found a pool of water in the depths of the valley. This pool had a 5-colored glow, and golden lotuses sprouted from the ground. The surroundings were filled with dense heaven and earth spiritual qi. With just a slight sniff, he felt as if all the cells in his body were trembling. He wanted nothing more than to devour all of this aura and strengthen his body. A spiritual spring. There really is a spiritual spring here. Lian Jingshun couldn't help but shout as he stared at the deep pool. There was a fist-sized hole on the surface of the pool. Sparkling liquid continuously flowed out and dripped into the pool. This liquid contained pure energy. He felt that if he could swallow a portion of this liquid, he would be able to break through to the Grandmaster realm immediately. Spiritual liquid. This is undoubtedly spiritual liquid. Oh my god. How can there be so much of it? There's an entire pond. Just how much spiritual liquid is there? If I can get all of them, I'll be as rich as a country. Fortunately, we are in the heavenly demon battlefield. If we were in the outside world, it would be possible to trigger a war between the human clan and the demon clan. Juniors like us wouldn't even have a chance. We're rich. We're rich. We can take as much as we want. Tyrant Jier and the others rushed over excitedly. How do we store all this spiritual liquid? Xia Ping blinked his eyes. These elite students didn't seem to have anything like a bucket on them. It was too difficult to store all this spiritual liquid. After all, no one had a space ring like him. There were many buckets of water inside, so he could completely empty all the spiritual liquid and pluck it all away. Whoosh. Without waiting for Xia Ping to ask, Tyrant Jier and the others each took out a bag the size of a palm. This was the crystallization of human technology, nano bag. This nano bag was extremely tough. Even if a ton of force was applied, it wouldn't be torn. It was also very elastic like a balloon. As long as you blew, it would expand. Splash. Tyrant Jier and the others each took out a nano bag and placed it on the surface of the pool. Soon the nano bag expanded to the size of 2 or 3 watermelons. It contained a total of 40 to 50 kilograms. There were a total of 13 elite students. They took away a few hundred kilograms. But for this deep pool it was just a small portion. It was nothing. Brother Xia, aren't you planning to take away the spiritual liquid? Tyrant Jie looked at Xia Ping curiously. Everyone else was moving to store the spiritual liquid, but this kid was still standing there and acting cool. It seemed like he didn't want to move at all. Don't be anxious. I plan to cultivate here for a while and directly absorb the spiritual liquid. Xiaoping smiled. He casually found an excuse. After all, he didn't want others to find out that he had a spatial ring. He wanted to wait for these people to leave before moving all the spiritual liquid here. Previously, there were many elite students who came here. But because they couldn't carry too much, they could only take a portion of the spiritual liquid and leave. But he was different. With the existence of his spatial ring, he could completely loot this place and let those who came later eat dirt. Brother Xia, you still want to cultivate in this place? Lian Jingshun was shocked. Don't go there. This isn't a safe place. After all, the location of this valley isn't very secret. Many seniors already know about it. Maybe even the demon race knows about it. If you cultivate here and are seen by those enemies, I'm afraid you won't have a good ending. He tactfully reminded Xiaoping of the danger here. The other elite students also nodded. Because of this, they planned to take the spiritual liquid away and go to other safe places to cultivate. They also wanted to break through to the Grandmaster realm. In this way they could have a great advantage in the celestial demon battlefield and obtain more treasures. Demon race? Don't worry, they're already here. Xiaoping narrowed his eyes and looked outside the valley. What? Hearing this, Lian Jingshun and the others were shocked. They immediately followed Xiaoping's gaze and looked over. Whoosh, whoosh. In the next second, dark clouds covered the valley, and a demonic wind blew, sweeping up a terrifying black wind. Soon, tyrannical demons appeared in the valley. Some of them were wolf demons, some were ox demons, some were snake demons, and so on. There were all kinds of strange creatures. There were 40 to 50 of them. Moreover, each demon was at the peak of the martial master realm. Their chi and blood were vigorous, and they were many times more terrifying than the previous demons. Damn, how did they come so fast? Chapter 656. It can't be. There are humans in the valley? One of the demons immediately noticed Xiaoping and the others and immediately became vigilant. Could it be that these humans know that there's a spiritual spring in this valley? That's why they rushed over? These humans have come to the Sky Demon battlefield so many times. It's not surprising that they discovered this secret. Damn it. The treasures in the Sky Demon battlefield belong to us demons. These lowly humans actually dare to snatch them. They're too audacious. They're courting death. Kill these humans immediately. Kill them until they're afraid of entering the Sky Demon battlefield. Lowly humans want to snatch our treasures? That's 10,000 years ago. Immediately, the demons were filled with killing intent as they stared at Xiaoping and the other elite students. Terrifying killing intent brewed. Even the air seemed to boil and the ground trembled. Tyrant Jie and the others immediately became nervous. They were at a disadvantage. The other party had dozens of demons while they only had a dozen people. They could not match up to them in terms of numbers. If they really fought to the death, more than half of them would probably die. Tell me, humans, how do you want to die? Do you want to be eaten alive by us, or do you want to be fried and cooked? Choose one, said a wolf demon with silver fur arrogantly. This was a silver moon wolf. Even among wolves they were considered a king race. Their bloodline power was tyrannical. Under the full moon, their strength would increase tenfold, making them invincible. Even if they were not under the full moon, their strength was no trifling matter. A pair of wolf claws tore through everything. Even titanium alloy could not withstand it. It was as fragile as paper. Demons, don't go too far. If we fight to the death, you'll also suffer heavy losses. I think we should negotiate to avoid conflict. An elite student gave his opinion. Bastard. With a bang, the silver moon wolf suddenly slapped him. It contained terrifying power, instantly slapping the elite student to the ground. A red handprint appeared on his fair face, and 2 or 3 of his front teeth fell out. He could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood as he fell to the ground and screamed. Then it fiercely stomped on the elite student's head. Who do you think you are? You want to fight to the death with us demons and make us suffer heavy losses? You overestimate yourselves. Even if it's just me, it's enough to slaughter all of you dozens of times over. You actually dare to be so arrogant? You humans don't have weapons, you're just lowly bastards, do you understand? You are only fit to be food for us demons. He continuously stepped on the elite student's body, circulating the demonic energy in his body, instantly destroying the elite student's meridians, causing him to be unable to unleash any power. He could only be trampled on like a dog. If it was a battle between the two of them, this elite student wouldn't be so weak. However, this was in the middle of a negotiation, and the other party had the advantage in numbers. In addition, he didn't expect that the Silver Moon Wolf didn't intend to negotiate with them at all and attacked instantly. He was hit by the sneak attack and was instantly crippled, unable to resist. Bastard! The group of elite students widened their eyes. They couldn't bear to watch any longer. Seeing their companion being humiliated and trampled on like this, they couldn't bear it at all. They wanted to save him. What's wrong? You want to fight against us demons? Do you want to die dozens of times? Suddenly, the demons behind him stood up, their faces ferocious, and their demonic auras shot up into the sky. In an instant, the terrifying demonic aura crushed down like a mountain, suppressing the elite students to death. It was as if they couldn't even breathe. It was as if they dared to move recklessly, the all-pervasive killing intent would instantly take their lives. Wait, look. A fire snake demon that was over 100 feet long immediately exclaimed, "Isn't that human the champion of this year's genius contest, Xia Ping? He's actually here too." Its eyes narrowed as it saw Xia Ping in the crowd. What? Human Xia Ping? That human is actually here too. What a coincidence. This human is already on our demon clan's must-kill list. If we kill him, we'll be rewarded handsomely. I heard that the Crow of Misfortune has its eyes on him as well. It wants to capture him alive and train him as a slave. Our luck is too good. I didn't expect to find this human Xia Ping so quickly. Even the heavens are helping us. The demons were all very careful. They all stared at Xia Ping, their eyes flashing with a strange light. It was as if they saw Xia Ping as a fat sheep, ready to be slaughtered at any time. Although they were in the monster race, they were still very well informed. They were very clear about the human race geniuses, especially the human race geniuses who posed the greatest threat to the monster race. They would never forget them. Therefore, these demons recognized Xia Ping right away and knew that he was the champion of the genius contest. This is bad. Tyrant Jie and the others' expressions changed. If Xia Ping's identity was leaked, these demons would not let this go. This battle would be unavoidable. Even if they wanted to negotiate, the demons would not agree. Human Xia Ping. The Silver Moon Wolf stared at Xia Ping. I heard that you are the champion of this year's genius contest. Looks like you have great potential and are very suitable to be a loyal servant of the demons. This identity is not a disgrace to the wolves. I order you to kneel and pledge your loyalty to me, the Silver Moon Wolf. Its expression was arrogant, as if it was saying something natural. It was like a king born to be above all. Servant? Tyrant Jie and the others' expressions were very ugly. They knew that many powerful humans had been captured by the demons. Some were eaten, some were tortured to death. But there were also some who were captured as servants, working like cattle and horses for the demons. Just like slaves in ancient times, they had no freedom. If their masters wanted them dead, they had to die. Their situation was very miserable. If Xia Ping was captured by these demons, he would not have a good ending. Noisy. With a boom, Xia Ping took out the Hell Spear and threw it at the Silver Moon Wolf. Dong. The Hell Spear turned into a black light, breaking through 10 times the speed of sound. It tore through the air and made a buzzing sound. In an instant, it pierced through the Silver Moon Wolf's heart, leaving a huge bloody hole in its huge body. A large amount of blood flowed down, dyeing the ground red. The Silver Moon Wolf suddenly felt a sharp pain all over its body. This pain seemed to take away all its life force in an instant. Terrifying True Yuan rampaged through its meridians, crazily destroying them. However, the demon race's strong vitality allowed it to not die yet. It still had one last breath. Chapter 657. So what if I want to kill you? Do I have to treat you to a meal? Useless. Xia Ping looked at the Silver Moon Wolf and slapped the air. The energy left in the Silver Moon Wolf by the Hell Spear exploded. With a boom, its huge body was blown into pieces. With a swoosh, he grabbed with his hand. With a thought, the Hell Spear returned to his right hand. Originally, he didn't want to bother with these monsters, but they liked to court death. Every time they met, they would shout and kill, wanting to kill all the humans. The conflict was irreconcilable. This Silver Moon Wolf was even more despicable. It wanted to capture him alive and make him a slave, making him wish he was dead. Since it was like this, he would return the favor. What was the point of talking to these monsters? He would just kill them on the spot and smash their heads. If he didn't show his power, they would think he was a sick cat. That's ridiculous. One stab to death. Seeing this, Tyrant Jie and the others couldn't help but gulp. This Silver Moon Wolf had a noble bloodline and an extraordinary demonic aura. It was probably a descendant of a demon king. At the very least, it was a powerful monster that could enter the top 100 of the genius competition. It couldn't be underestimated. But now it was stabbed to death by Xiaoping's spear. It didn't even have the strength to resist. It was a complete mess. This kid is even stronger than during the genius competition. Unfathomable. Lian Jingshun also took a deep breath. He was already here, yet he could still improve so quickly. How could he let others live? If Xiaoping wanted to kill him, it would be a matter of one stab. Bastard human, how dare you kill a member of the demon race? Kill him immediately. Kill his entire clan. Go kill him. We won't stop until he's dead. Seeing the silver moon wolf die in one stab, its entire body exploding into pieces of minced meat, all the monsters were so angry that their lungs were about to explode. With so many of their members here, they had the absolute advantage. Plus, they thought of themselves as nobles and looked down on humans. It was simply contempt. Who would have thought that under such circumstances, this kid would still dare to attack? Xiaoping's speed was too fast, so fast that they couldn't react at all. Only when the silver moon wolf was stabbed to death did they know what had happened. One could imagine how furious they were when all these factors added up. They even wanted to kill Xiaoping. Whoosh! A fire snake demon that was over 100 feet long pounced over. It coiled on the ground like a small mountain. When it opened its huge mouth, it could even swallow an elephant. The idiom, "a snake swallows an elephant from earth," was not a joke here, but a fact. If it grew to the king realm and the demon king was born, the snake demon would be able to swallow all the humans in a small city in one gulp. It wouldn't even need to chew. Boom. A King Kong mantis demon also rushed forward. Its body was covered with golden heptachi, and its whole body was covered with metal armor. Its pair of blades were extremely sharp, and even the ancient treasured sword that could cut iron like mud could not compare. It moved in an instant. It was simply like a master of the saber Dao. Saber chi swept across the sky and covered the earth, enough to tear everything apart. In an instant, it covered Xiaoping's entire body. Whoosh! In the sky there was also a wind eagle demon. It rode the wind like a supersonic plane. Its body formed a terrifying airflow, and its speed was extremely fast. Its sharp beak could penetrate a mountain. At this moment, a terrifying demon attacked and instantly locked onto Xiaoping's chi. No matter where Xiaoping escaped to, it would be useless. He would definitely die. It's over. Tyrant Jie and the others suddenly turned green, and their bodies were trembling. Each of these demon race geniuses contained the bloodline of the king. Their strength was tyrannical, and even compared with the top 100 geniuses, they were not inferior. But now dozens of such demons attacked at the same time, targeting Xiaoping and launching a fatal blow. It was estimated that in the face of such an attack, even an expert who had just entered the master realm would be seriously injured, or even directly killed. There was no way to resist at all. The gap between the two sides was too big. You are courting death. Xiaoping was unmoved. A cold light flashed in his eyes. In an instant he took out the bewitching soul bell and immediately poured his spiritual ether into it. Ding dang dang dang. In an instant, with Xiaoping's body as the center, there was immediately a ripple. The terrifying psychic wave was like a wave sweeping in all directions. The area within a radius of a few hundred meters was surrounded by this powerful psychic power. What? Suddenly the demons at the scene were affected by this psychic wave. It fiercely bombarded their souls, causing them to immediately fall into a trance. It was as if at this moment they had all lost consciousness, and their minds were momentarily blank. Kill? Although it was only for a moment, for an expert, 1 second was enough to kill the enemy dozens of times. Xiaoping clenched the hell spear in his hand and attacked the group of demons. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. In an instant, densely packed spear shadows appeared in the air. Every spear shadow condensed into a solid substance, emitting the aura of hell. It was full of sharp power, and it was indestructible. Bang! The fire snake demon let out a shrill scream. Its body, which was more than 100 feet long, was blasted into more than a dozen pieces. A large amount of blood was like spring water, spurting out on the ground, dyeing the ground red. Even though the King Kong mantis had the body of a King Kong, it was still easily pierced by the power of the hell spear. Even its heart was smashed, and a bloody hole appeared in its chest. It fell to the ground, its eyes wide open, as if it couldn't believe that it had died just like that. The wind eagle demon flying in the sky was the most miserable. It was pierced by a spear shadow, and the aura of hell exploded. In an instant, it was blown into pieces and large pieces of flesh and blood flew out, sprinkling on the ground. It was estimated that even immortals would not be able to save this demon. Not only these demons but other demons that were close to Xiaoping were also pierced by the power of the Hell Spear. Their entire bodies exploded, turning into pieces of minced meat. Only the demons that didn't have time to attack survived, but there were only a few of them and they were not a threat. What the hell happened? Tyrant Jie and the other elite students were in a state of confusion, because the power of the soul-sucking bell had also affected them, causing them to be in a trance for a moment. However, when they regained consciousness, they discovered that the ferocious demons in the entire valley had been slaughtered. They had turned into minced meat and blood flowed like a river. The remaining demons were also scared pale, trembling on the ground as if they were completely dumbfounded. They couldn't believe that such a thing had happened. Chapter 658. Monster, this human is a monster. He killed so many of our companions in one move. How did he do it? This is the human race's pride. How can he be so terrifying? Didn't they say that humans only rely on technological weapons to be arrogant, and that their martial strength is weak? What's going on now? The remaining monsters looked at Xiaoping in fear. Now, they truly saw what it meant to be the champion of the Genius Tournament, and what it meant to be invincible. A person's reputation was like a tree's shadow. To be able to fight his way out of the billions of humans, among the countless monstrous geniuses, and come out on top, suppressing the other heroes, and be considered by some big shots to have the potential to become an invincible king, how could such combat strength be ordinary? Previously they were all arrogant and thought that with the talent of humans, no matter how powerful they were, they could not compare to the demon race, and that they could defeat this so-called human with a single move. But now reality gave them a harsh slap in the face, making them dizzy. Dozens of peak martial master monsters with the bloodline of a demon king were killed by this terrifying human. They couldn't even break the skin of their opponent. Such a shocking fact was simply unimaginable to them. Now they finally realized that the generous reward for killing human geniuses was not so easy to obtain. There was no such thing as a free lunch in this world. Tell me, how do you want to die? Do you want to be steamed, roasted, or skinned? Choose your own way to die. Xiaoping looked at the group of monsters calmly. What goes around comes around. Tyrant Jie and the others were in a good mood. Just now, the group of monsters had the upper hand and were extremely domineering, treating humans as fish on the chopping block. They were simply too arrogant. But now, it was finally their turn to taste the feeling of being fish on the chopping block. Human, don't go too far. A monster gritted its teeth and glared at Xiaoping. It felt endless grievance in its heart. Since when had the demon race fallen to such a state, to be threatened by a puny human and treated like slaves? The other monsters were also furious, wishing they could kill Xiaoping immediately. But after witnessing Xiaoping's terrifying combat strength, he killed dozens of monsters in one move. Even if they joined forces, they would not be able to withstand a single move from this terrifying human. So what if I bully you? Die. How could Xiaoping let them go? They all wanted to start a war, but it was not up to them to decide when it would end. He must annihilate all of these demons. Damn it. The group of demons felt a chill run down their spines. The killing intent in the void was omnipresent. It was as though it had transformed into a sword that was slicing at their bodies. It was as though their chi activity had been completely locked on. Even if they wanted to escape, they would be instantly killed, as if they were being targeted by the Grim Reaper. Stop, human. How dare you kill my demon brothers? Aren't you afraid of your clan being wiped out? Suddenly, a thunderous roar came from afar, shaking several li. In the distance, a huge black fog came from the sky, covering the sky and the sun. A demonic wind blew, and at the same time cawing sounds like the cawing of crows could be heard, causing people to shiver. It was as if an emissary from hell had arrived. The crows of misfortune. The crows of misfortune are here. Some demons immediately recognized the flying creature in the sky. It was the peerless genius of the demon race, the crows of misfortune. Although they did not know why the crows of misfortune would come to the valley, they all knew that with the crows of misfortune here, they would be saved. It would not be the turn of this human to act wildly. Great, with the crows of misfortune here, that human will definitely not dare to attack. How dare he attack? Isn't he afraid of the demon race's revenge and annihilating his entire clan? Immediately all the demons were overjoyed. They felt as though they had escaped from death. With the protection of the crows of misfortune, their lives were finally saved. Not allowed to kill? Who do you think you are? Xiaoping snorted coldly, his killing intent soaring. His true essence boiled like lava. Holding the hell spear, he rushed towards the group of demons. No, no, no. All the demons were dumbfounded. They could feel Xia Ping's terrifying killing intent. They did not expect the human to still dare to attack even when the crows of misfortune were here. Some of the demons wanted to escape, some wanted to fight back, and some wanted to dodge, but it was all useless. Compared to Xia Ping, who was holding the precious weapon, the Hell's Spear, their strength was too far apart. This kind of gap was basically the same as the gap between a peak martial master and a grandmaster. It was almost impossible to make up for. When these demons let out miserable cries for help, the power of the Hell's Spear turned into countless spear shadows, easily piercing through the bodies of the demons present. "Bastard, how dare you kill my brothers of the demon race?" Sensing this situation, the crow of misfortune was so angry that its lungs were about to explode. Despite knowing that it was coming, the human was still trying to kill it. However, they were too far away from Xia Ping, and it was simply beyond their reach. Moreover, Xia Ping's attack was so fast that even the speed of sound was not enough to describe such a speed. Therefore they could not stop him at all. They could only watch Xia Ping kill their brothers of the demon race. Bang, bang, bang. The hell's aura immediately exploded, and the bodies of the demons instantly exploded into countless pieces of flesh and blood. Blood sprayed everywhere like rain, dyeing the ground red. The heads of these demons flew in all directions, and their eyes were wide open. Clearly they had died with grievances and were extremely unwilling to die. Too ruthless. When Tyrant Jie and the other elite students saw this scene, their hearts trembled violently. It was as if someone was squeezing their hearts. No one expected Xia Ping to be so ruthless. Even though he knew that the crows of misfortune were coming and tried to stop them, he still did not move. Instead, he killed all the demons in front of the crows of misfortune. This was clearly a slap to the crows of misfortune's face. This was sowing endless hatred. Whoosh. A few seconds later, a huge bird with a body of 4 to 5 meters and a pair of black wings that covered the sky appeared in front of everyone. It was completely black, and its body lingered with the aura of death. With its body as the center, it seemed to have formed a death domain with a diameter of more than 10 meters. It was pitch black, as if even the sunlight had been sucked dry. Many elite students gasped. The two black, unfathomable eyes of death with vortexes in the depths of its pupils stared at them. Immediately they felt like they were being killed by the Grim Reaper. It was as if their lives would be taken away in the next second. This was the famous crows of misfortune. Chapter 659. This is the crow of misfortune? Tyrant Hero and the others suddenly felt a chill run down their spine, as if they were being stared at by the god of the underworld. They could have their souls taken away at any time and die without a burial. Rumor had it that the crow of misfortune was an extremely tyrannical race even among the many demon races. It was a demon from hell. Once it appeared, it represented war, death, plague, and so on. It was a symbol of countless deaths and injuries. No one wanted to see the crow of misfortune. Even many demons were extremely afraid of the crow of misfortune. They thought it was a symbol of misfortune. It was almost as detestable as Xia Ping. Human. The crow of misfortune stared at Xia Ping. "I told you to stop. Why didn't you stop? You actually dared to kill in front of me. It seems that your wild nature is hard to tame. You need more training." It wasn't angry for the dead demons. They weren't of the same race anyway. This made it difficult for it to shed a tear, not to mention that it was a cold-hearted demon. But it was angry at its own face. It had clearly ordered this human not to attack, but he still attacked. Moreover, he was so ruthless that he killed the demons in an instant. This was simply a public slap in the face. How could it not be angry? You are the crow of misfortune? The symbol of death and war? Xia Ping touched his chin. I wonder if I can eat you after roasting you? I heard that the flesh and blood of you demons contains a lot of energy, comparable to a 1,000-year-old elixir. I wonder if that's true? He stared at the crow of misfortune. What? Tyrant Hero and the others were speechless. Even at this time, this guy still wanted to eat them. Who was the real demon now? Why did it seem like it was the other way around? You really are a wild and hard to tame human. But it doesn't matter. Wait until I capture you, put shackles on your neck, shackle your feet, and let a dozen female pigs torture you for a few years. I reckon you'll soon be convinced. The crow of misfortune was high and mighty. Its black eyes revealed a deep killing intent. Although it didn't show it on the surface, it was completely enraged by Xia Ping's words. Come here and die. Xia Ping gave it a sidelong glance. Human, do you want to die? A terrifying aura of death erupted from the crow of misfortune. Its race was known as a tyrannical race that had walked out from the depths of hell. It was born with the ability to control the aura of death. Once he was enraged, then the heavens would collapse and the earth would split apart. It was like the god of the underworld had descended and taken away the lives of countless living beings. Boom, the crow of misfortune could no longer hold back and instantly attacked. It controlled the death energy in its body and a black mist burst out, blasting towards Xia Ping. Corpse Accumulation Fist. The black mist instantly condensed into numerous black fists, as if they were the fists of an underworld deity. They seemed to have emerged from the depths of hell, containing the power to shatter the earth. At the same time, it was surrounded by a deathly aura, which was extremely effective against living creatures. Once one was invaded by the deathly aura, it would instantly steal away one's life force and turn one into a pile of bones. This was the terror of the crow of misfortune corpse accumulating infernal god fist. Once executed, not only did it possess boundless might, the aura of death that it exuded was also unstoppable, and one would be killed in a single move. Dodge. The expressions of Tyrant Jia and the others immediately changed. They could feel the deathly aura coming at them. The grass and trees on the ground rapidly withered, as if their souls were being destroyed in an instant. If they were to stay here, they would be affected by the crow of misfortune's power. Just the shockwaves alone would be enough to seriously injure them. Even though the crow of misfortune's power was probably on par with Feng Qiudao's, the deathly aura on its body was simply too terrifying. It could be said to be the bane of all living beings. At that moment, Xia Ping suddenly made his move. He slapped out with his palm while circulating the pure yang immortal art, blocking the nether deity fist in an instant. The two powerful forces collided. The air immediately exploded, giving off a loud sound. Bang, bang, bang. In addition to attacking Xia Ping, the fists also bombarded the ground, creating huge fist-sized craters. Several tons of soil were thrown into the air, giving off loud booms. Xia Ping, who was standing on the ground, also felt the tyrannical power of the punch. The chi shield on his body shook continuously, and the ground where his feet stood was shaken into a huge crater. The deathly aura seemed to have a life of its own, ignoring his chi shield and seeping into his limbs and bones. It was as if the nether deity had descended, raising its scythe to harvest his soul. Extinguish. Xia Ping snorted coldly. The flames in his body containing the essence of the sun burst out, instantly wrapping around the gray deathly aura and burning it. In just a few breaths, the gray aura melted like snow when it came into contact with the flames in Xia Ping's body. It quickly disappeared from the world, completely obliterated. Impossible. Seeing this, the crow of misfortune was completely stunned. Its deathly aura had always been successful. Even the king of the demon race would have to spend a lot of effort to resist its deathly aura. Because of this, not many demons dared to fight against it. This also resulted in its aloof and arrogant personality. No one could disobey its orders. But now, its deathly aura had no effect on this human being. Just the power of the flames that erupted from his body was enough to completely extinguish its deathly aura. However, how could it know the horror of the pure yang immortal art? It absorbed the essence of the sun's flame power as nourishment and tempered its body. The power of the flame cultivated could even extinguish the aura of hell. Even if the deathly aura was very powerful, it was still no match for the essence of the sun. Even if Xia Ping did not have the power of the sun's essence, he had the bloodline of the golden crow of hell. It was the ruler of hell, the king of demons. A mere deathly aura was nothing but nourishment for it. It was simply a dream to think that it could harm his body. Go to hell. Xia Ping stood on the ground. He did not care about the crow of misfortune's shock. He operated the spiritual ether in his body and punched in the air. 100 steps divine fist. This punch contained the power of the sun's essence. It was a fist of flames. It was like a god of fire had descended. The terrifying fist still attacked from hundreds of meters away. Dong. The crow of misfortune was caught off guard. Even though it was flying in the air, it was still hit by Xia Ping's punch. It smashed hard on its chest, breaking several of its ribs. What was even more terrifying was the power of the flames. It seemed to have begun to burn the deathly aura on its body. It wanted to turn its entire body into a fireball and burn it to death. Damn it. Chapter 660. So strong. He can actually block the raven of misfortune's death aura? Just what kind of flame is that? What kind of flame technique does he cultivate? It's at least a peerless king-class flame energy art. Otherwise, there's no way it could be so powerful. But isn't this kid just a commoner? Even if he joined the giant corporation, It's impossible for him to get a peerless king-class technique that even the king clans can't get their hands on. This world is full of good fortune and ruins. I bet this kid fell into one of those ruins and obtained a peerless king-class energy art. That's not impossible. Damn it. No wonder he's so strong. Even Feng Qiudao wasn't a match for him. Tyrant Jie and the others were also completely shocked by Xia Ping's previous attack. Even the famous Crow of Misfortune had been injured by his punch. Even the death aura seemed to have no effect on him. This made them feel that it was inconceivable. Just now, the shockwaves from the Raven of Misfortune's attack had spread everywhere, and some of the elite students had been corroded by the aura. The result was obvious. Their bodies were corroded as if they had been exposed to acid. Their meridians were in a withered state, and their life force was greatly damaged. If they hadn't circulated their qigong to expel the death aura, and taken precious medicinal pills, they would have been seriously injured. If just the shockwaves were so strong, then what kind of pressure would Xia Ping be under when facing the Raven of Misfortune's all-out attack? They couldn't imagine that such a monster existed in this world. You want to make me your slave? Why don't you eat shit instead? Xia Ping didn't show any mercy. He landed on the ground and with a bang he leaped up into the air, creating a 10-meter-wide crater in the ground. He leaped up into the air, reaching a height of over 100 meters, and threw a punch at the Raven of Misfortune. Damn it. The Raven of Misfortune's face turned green. Even though it could fly with its wings for a peak martial master, 100 meters in the air was no different from the ground. It only took one leap for it to reach that height. Bang! The punch landed squarely on the Raven of Misfortune's face, sending it flying like a sandbag. It flew off into the distance, smashing through a huge mountain. Rock after rock was shattered into pieces. Even the mountain peak seemed to be in a state of cracking, as if it couldn't withstand such an impact and was about to collapse. As for the Crow of Misfortune, he spat out a mouthful of blood. His internal organs were severely injured. Shoo. However, Xia Ping still did not let the Crow of Misfortune off. With a few leaps, he arrived in front of the Crow of Misfortune. His fists were like a storm as they ruthlessly smashed over. Bang bang bang. The Crow of Misfortune was immediately attacked like a storm. Every punch contained the power of 1,000 caddies, bombarding its body. It seemed as if every bone in its body was heavily injured. If it wasn't for the fact that it had a king's bloodline and its body was much stronger than ordinary monsters, it would have been smashed into minced meat by Xia Ping with just a few punches. But in the face of such a blow, it was powerless to resist. This made it feel incomparably humiliated. Despicable human, you forced me to do this. Die. With a boom, the Crow of Misfortune suddenly unleashed a power that was several times stronger than before. In an instant, Xia Ping was sent flying over 1,000 meters away. Suddenly, a black flag appeared in front of the Crow of Misfortune. There were many skulls on the flag as well as many vengeful spirits. From time to time, the flag would emit demonic roars that seemed to come from hell. It was a terrifying sight. The moment the flag appeared, a sinister wind blew. With the Crow of Misfortune as the center, the area within a radius of 3 to 4 kilometers seemed to turn into a land of death. A majestic black aura emerged. The weeds and trees on the ground all withered, as if all their vitality had been completely stripped away. Oh no! This is the famous treasure of the Crow of Misfortune, the Purgatory Vengeful Soul flag. The tycoon's expression immediately changed when he saw the black flag appear. He came from a king's clan, so he was very knowledgeable and well-informed. He had come to the Sky Demon battlefield this time to cram up all sorts of information about the demon race. This included the famous treasure of the Crow of Misfortune, the Purgatory Vengeful Soul flag. This flag contained the power of purgatory. The souls of all living beings killed by the Crow of Misfortune would not go to hell. Instead, they would be absorbed into this flag and become the treasure's power. The more living beings the Crow of Misfortune killed, the more powerful the flag would be. It could be said that the Purgatory Vengeful Soul flag was a famous treasure even among the many treasures. It had killed countless powerful enemies, causing people to tremble in fear just by hearing its name. In the past, during the war between the demon race and the human race, this flag had killed countless monarchs of the human race. It could be said to be a deadly weapon through and through. The tycoon and the others had not expected the Crow of Misfortune to actually dare to bring this treasure into the Sky Demon battlefield. Was it not afraid of losing this precious treasure here? No, this is not the real thing. It's a fake, Lian Jingshun said gravely. Many elite students also stared at the flag and immediately felt relieved. Indeed, if this was the legendary Purgatory Vengeful Soul flag, The flag would probably envelop an area of hundreds of kilometers in an earth-shattering aura of death. If the Demon King used its full strength, even a city would probably be turned into a dead zone. Yes, this is a fake, but it has at least 10% of the real thing's power. It's more than enough to deal with a mere martial master. The Crow of Misfortune sneered. The demonic power in its body surged and whistled. A majestic demonic power immediately poured into the flag. Rumble, the Purgatory Vengeful Soul flag suddenly shook and flashed with black light. A black vortex seemed to appear in the depths of the flag. It was as if chaos was flowing and a terrifying aura of death was brewing. In the depths of the vortex, skeletons, evil spirits, and demons seemed to have appeared. They all seemed to have crawled out from the depths of the flag and appeared in the air. These creatures were all killed by the Crow of Misfortune. Their souls were collected by the flag and turned into puppets. They had to provide power for the flag for the rest of their lives until they died. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. In an instant, hundreds and thousands of skeletons, evil spirits, and demons appeared in the air. Each of them emitted a monstrous demonic aura. They had all reached the Martial Master realm. Many of them were experts at the peak of the Martial Master realm. Chapter 661. Kill him. The Crow of Misfortune's eyes were ferocious. It waved the Purgatory Vengeful Spirit flag in its hand, and a mysterious power acted on the evil spirits and vengeful spirits. The aura of death poured into their bodies, greatly increasing their strength. Rumble, the evil spirits turned into horsemen. They wore armor, and among them were skeleton horses. They held shields and spears in their hands. Like soldiers, they stepped on the air and charged at Xiaoping. Hundreds and thousands of undead horsemen appeared. They were neat and uniform like a powerful army. Their killing intent surged, and the terrifying aura of death enveloped a radius of several kilometers. They locked onto Xiaoping's aura. No matter where he fled, they would chase him to the end. This is the power of the Purgatory Vengeful Spirit flag? It's too terrifying. How is this a treasure? It's clearly an army. The more living beings it kills, the stronger the flag becomes. It really lives up to its name. If even the king is killed, doesn't that mean that even the king's soul will be bound by this flag and become a puppet? No wonder this flag acted as if it was facing a great enemy. It's too terrifying. It can't be stopped at all. No matter how strong Xiaoping is, he probably can't stop it. How can he stop it? People say that there are hundreds and thousands of soldiers in an army. Countless horses will trample him into meat paste in an instant. Tyrant Hero and the others all widened their eyes in fright. They were completely shocked by the power of the Purgatory Vengeful Spirit flag. This was no flag. It was clearly a tiger tally to command an army. This was bullying with numbers. It was too much. Bang, bang, bang. In an instant, these ghost horsemen attacked Xiaoping. Their spears were like a forest, as if they wanted to pierce through Xiaoping in an instant and turn his body into a beehive. Xiaoping was not to be outdone. His fists were like the wind as he used the 10,000 beast fist. At this moment, he had turned into a forest of beasts. There were tigers, cheetahs, lions, elephants, hungry wolves, kangaroos, and so on. His fists and feet were like lethal weapons, containing tremendous power. The attacking ghost horsemen were all defeated with a few punches and feet and turned into dust. However, these ghost riders seemed to be undying existences. After being defeated by Xiaoping's kick, they turned into a mass of death aura that spread between heaven and earth. Then, the Crow of Misfortune just had to wave the Purgatory Vengeful Soul flag slightly, and some of the ghost riders that had been killed would come back to life, and the majestic aura of death would condense into ghost riders again. Even though Xiaoping had expended a lot of energy, he hadn't killed a single ghost rider. Instead, he was surrounded, and no matter how he struggled, he couldn't escape. It's useless. It's completely useless. Under the Purgatory Vengeful Soul flag, these ghost riders are immortal. No matter how many times you kill them, they can be resurrected again. The Crow of Misfortune was elated, feeling extremely good. This human had fallen into his evil spirit army, and even if he wanted to struggle, he couldn't escape. Don't look at the brat's current appearance. As time passed, the true essence in his body would soon be exhausted. At that time, he would be like a fish on the chopping board, and it could slaughter him however it wanted. This human slave must be captured alive and tortured ruthlessly. His neck must be shackled, and his hands and feet must be bound with iron chains. Even his little brother must be castrated to prevent him from going around. He must also have the word slave carved on his forehead. The Crow of Misfortune imagined itself capturing Xiaoping and torturing him ruthlessly. If it could subdue this human slave, he would definitely be of great help in the future. Undying existences? Interesting. Xia Ping immediately stopped. He knew that no matter how much energy he wasted, he probably wouldn't be able to kill these ghost riders. Are you desperate? Hurry up and surrender. Kneel at your master's feet. The crow of misfortune laughed loudly. It thought that Xia Ping had finally given up and planned to surrender. Surrender? You think too highly of yourself. Xia Ping looked at the crow of misfortune indifferently. He stood where he was, put his palms together, and with a pious expression, he immediately started singing. King Tyr Peerless Martial Technique, Heaven's Epic. This was the first piece of the Heaven's Epic, Angel's Hymn. In that instant, with Xia Ping as the center, the singing resounded in a radius of 10 miles. Such sound waves spread in all directions, pouring into the minds of every living being. This was clearly not the language of humans, nor was it the language of the demon race, but the language of angels. No living being could understand it, but they could feel the energy contained in the singing. Singing had no boundaries, nor did it distinguish between races. This was an existence that stood above countless other things. Even if they couldn't understand what the other party was saying, they could still know what it meant. What is this? Even Tu Haojie and the other elite students were hallucinating at this instant. They felt as though a ray of sunlight had torn through the dark sky, turning it into a clear blue sky. High up in the sky, an angel had descended. It had 6 wings on its back, and extremely pure white feathers without any impurities fell down, emitting a vast and holy aura, as though it could cleanse the world of impurities. The warm energy emitted from its body made it feel as though it was the happiest thing in its life. Under this holy light, all negative emotions were swept away. At this moment, they simply wished they could prostrate themselves before this holy angel and become the most loyal believers. When those ghost riders heard the singing of these angels, the incomparable resentment, fury, and craziness in their hearts seemed to be cleared at this moment, and they obtained a moment of peace. Their originally abnormally malevolent faces seemed to have been purified at this moment, appearing extremely holy, quiet, and benevolent. It was as though they had obtained the Tao at this moment, letting go of everything. The undead aura and death aura on their bodies were also completely purified under this pure energy. They melted like ice and snow, rapidly disappearing from this world. Many palm-sized little angels appeared, surrounding these ghost riders and constantly reciting scriptures, as though they were purifying these evil auras. Bastard, what have you done? What have you done? Seeing this scene, the crow of misfortune's eyes widened, and it completely went crazy. The Purgatory Vengeful Soul flag, which was invincible and had killed countless people, had actually been weakened at this moment. It was unknown how long it had taken to collect them and how many living beings it had killed, but at this moment, they had all vanished into thin air, as if they were about to be purified by this shameless angel. It was as if a robber had entered its home and plundered it wantonly, taking away all its wealth. It was as though it was plucking feathers from every opportunity. As the saying went, obstructing one's path to wealth was akin to killing one's parents. What Xia Ping had done was no different from killing its entire family. Immediately, the crow of misfortune was so angry that it jumped up. It could not take it at all, and it wanted to immediately kill this thief. Stop. Chapter 662. Stop my ass, die. Xia Ping didn't care about the crow of misfortune's words. If he didn't kill it while it was sick, would he wait for it to kill him when it was healthy? Even a fool wouldn't do that. Boom, suddenly the sound in the void vibrated, and there was a burst of solemn and sacred voice, like a seraph singing a heaven epic full of sacred flavor. Thank the angel, I'm going to be free. Thank you, Sir Angel, I feel my hatred and anger disappear at this moment. Heaven, I want to go to heaven. The ghost knights all showed a kind look on their faces, and all the hostility on their bodies disappeared. It seemed that even the evil thoughts deep in their souls were completely purified. But as an evil spirit, it could exist in this world because of evil thoughts, anger, resentment, and other emotions. Without these negative emotions, they would have no value in existing. Rumble, suddenly the ghost knights, who were bound to the Purgatory Soul flag, put their hands together like the most devout believers and let go of everything. It didn't take long for their bodies to dissipate, turning into a white light, flying toward the void as if disappearing from this world. The Purgatory Soul flag also suddenly made a cracking sound, and a dozen cracks appeared on it. It was about to break. After all, the power of this flag came from the evil spirit. If even the evil spirit disappeared and was completely purified, then it would lose its source of power, and even its origin would be completely damaged. This was an irreparable damage. Damn human, I want you to die. The crow of misfortune was completely crazy. Seeing the purgatory soul flag on its body destroyed by Xia Ping, its eyes were burning with flames. This purgatory soul flag could be said to be the greatest treasure on its body. It didn't know how much it had to pay to refine it, and it had almost exhausted all of its wealth. But now it was destroyed by Xia Ping. One could imagine how angry it was now. Whoosh! The crow of misfortune went crazy, and its whole body turned into a black light, attacking Xia Ping, as if it wanted to pierce through this damn human's body with one blow. Without the purgatory soul flag, you're just a fart. How dare you come here and clamor? Get lost. Xia Ping made a move, his hands turned into Tai Chi symbols, standing on the ground, and at the same time running dark north body protecting skill. Immediately he set up a shield of air that flowed like water in front of his body. Dong. The crow of misfortune fiercely smashed over like a comet crashing into the earth. It exploded with a loud sound, causing the air shield to buzz, as if it was on the verge of collapse. However, it was unable to break through this force. The water continued to tremble, and the recoil from the energy barrier made it dizzy and dizzy. Bang! Xia Ping was not going to let the raven of misfortune go easily. He punched the raven of misfortune with the force of 1,000 pounds. It was as if he was an ancient barbaric elephant. Ah! The crow of misfortune let out a miserable shriek and spat out a mouthful of blood. Its entire body flew out like a cannonball, smashing through a small mountain in the distance in an instant. Huge boulders were blasted into smithereens. Too strong. He can even defeat the crow of misfortune. It's a mess. Who is the monster now? Incredible. Even the power of the precious purgatory spirit flag can be resisted. He wants to go against the heavens. The elite students such as Taheo Jie have been shocked to the point of numbness, whether it is Xia Ping who killed dozens of elite monsters with a wave of his hand or now defeated the famous crow of misfortune. In the outside world, it is an earth-shattering event. Run. After smashing through a mountain and being shaken to the point of bleeding, the crow of misfortune finally calmed down. It knew that if it continued like this, it might be killed by this human. Wait for me. When my injury recovers and I am promoted to the Grandmaster level, I will find this damn human to settle the score. At that time I will kill him and peel off his tendons. The crow of misfortune was furious. It immediately climbed out of the deep pit. It was very fast. It did not care about its injuries. It flapped its wings and flew into the distance. Oh no, the crow of misfortune is going to escape. If the crow of misfortune escapes, it will be a big enemy. But how can we chase it? It has wings and can fly high into the sky. It is beyond our reach. Suddenly, Taheo Jie and the other elite students found that the arrogant crow of misfortune actually turned around and fled. It was really shocking. They did not expect that such a demon king descendant would also flee in fear. However, it was too difficult to catch up with the crow of misfortune at this time. The other party could fly high in the sky and was extremely fast. It was almost impossible to catch up with it. Die. With a boom, Xia Ping instantly took out a long bow from his body. It was the precious moon-shooting bow, which was obtained during the college entrance examination. It was extremely powerful. At this time, his quintessential essence vibrated and immediately condensed into a physical bow and arrow. This was a light arrow. After advancing to the martial master realm, he no longer needed any bow and arrow reserves. As long as his quintessential essence had not been exhausted, he could condense as many bows and arrows as he wanted. Moreover, the power of such an energy bow and arrow was even more terrifying and indestructible. Xia Ping pulled the bow and arrow, and at the same time he activated the Hell Golden Crow's Eye. It was as if the whole world turned into a three-dimensional field of vision. Even though the crow of misfortune was a few kilometers away, it seemed as if it was very close. The aura on his body surged and his muscles swelled. It was as if an ancient god was shooting at the sun god Apollo. His whole body emitted a sharp aura that soared into the sky. Swoosh! In the blink of an eye, the bow and arrow shot out at 10 times the speed of sound. It tore through the air like a supersonic plane, producing an ear-piercing sound in the surroundings. Some elite students could not help but cover their ears, afraid that the sound wave would shatter their eardrums. What? The crow of misfortune was instantly frightened. Originally, it thought that it could fly high in the sky and no matter how powerful these humans were, they would not be able to attack it. However, after flying for a distance, its hair stood on end as if it had been locked on by the god of death. It turned around and was shocked to find that a bow and arrow was shooting at it from afar. Ah! Before it could react, the bow and arrow instantly penetrated its body. Blood splattered everywhere, and the intense pain made the crow of misfortune let out the loudest scream of its life. This kind of pain was something it had never felt in so many years. It was as if every nerve was being bitten by ants. Its huge body was carried by the tyrannical power of the bow and arrow and flew forward. Finally, it was nailed to a mountain wall in the distance. Chapter 663. Whoosh. Soon, Xiaoping's figure flickered and left the valley. He came to the mountain wall a few miles away and looked at the crow of misfortune that was nailed to it. At this time, the blood on the crow of misfortune dripped down, dyeing it red. It was no longer as arrogant as before. Even if it wanted to curse, it couldn't. It's not dead yet? Xiaoping raised his eyebrows. Originally, he aimed this arrow at the crow of misfortune's heart, wanting to kill this monster with one arrow, but he didn't expect it to miss. In fact, it didn't miss, but because the crow of misfortune twisted its body at the critical moment, causing the arrow to hit other parts of its body. Although this was a fatal injury for humans, it was not fatal for monsters even if it was very serious. If they were given a certain amount of time, they would definitely recover to their original state. Damn human, how dare you treat the great crow of misfortune like this? Do you know how much misfortune this behavior will bring to you? Do you know? Seeing Xiaoping coming in front of it, the crow of misfortune seemed to have recovered some of its strength. It was unruly and its eyes revealed a fierce look. It immediately cursed as if it wanted to scare Xiaoping. Xiaoping couldn't be bothered to listen to the crow of misfortune's nonsense. He punched, wanting to blow up the crow's head. Wait, human, wait for me. Originally, the crow of misfortune was still acting tough, trying to scare Xiaoping with its identity as a descendant of the monster king, but it didn't expect that this guy didn't care about its words at all. He didn't even intend to listen to its words and punched, wanting to blow up its head. Suddenly, the crow of misfortune was so scared that it peed its pants. It no longer dared to pretend and hurriedly shouted, "Wait my ass." Xiaoping punched, but the crow of misfortune was, after all, the crow of misfortune. It actually turned its head at the critical moment. Dong. When the punch landed on the mountain wall, it instantly blasted open a large hole with a diameter of tens of meters. The entire mountain seemed to be on the verge of collapse, and cracks spread to who knew how far. In the distance, a boulder of tens of tons was shaken to pieces. One could imagine the power of this punch. If it hit, it would definitely kill the crow of misfortune. Why are you hiding? Xiaoping looked at the crow of misfortune curiously. Why did he hide? Damn it, if I didn't dodge, that punch would have killed me. How could I not dodge? This was clearly bullshit. The crow of misfortune couldn't help but curse inwardly, wanting to spit on this human's face. However, it still endured it. Who asked it to be inferior and become a prisoner? You can't kill me. The crow of misfortune said, I am the prince of the crow of misfortune race. If you kill me, you will definitely incur the wrath of the fiend race. At that time, it will cause a war between the human race and the fiend race. You will be the main culprit and even kings will not be able to protect you. Oh. Xiaoping grunted and clenched his fists, wanting to give him another punch. Fuck, this bastard doesn't fall for it. The crow of misfortune's face turned green. How could it not see that this kid wasn't threatened by it at all? It seemed like he didn't care about the war either. Perhaps for this guy, a war was exactly what he wanted. Thinking of this, it immediately said, if you don't kill me, I can give you some benefits. Since the hard way didn't work, it would use the soft way. It also knew how to advance and retreat. Benefits? What benefits can you give me? Xiaoping immediately stopped. To be honest, even if he killed the crow of misfortune now, he would only be getting rid of a demon. It wouldn't bring him any benefits. He wanted to hear what this demon had to say. I am the prince of the crow of misfortune race. If you let me go, after this fiend battlefield ends, I can ask my father to give you a large number of treasures. You can have anything you want. Regardless of whether it could be done or not, the crow of misfortune immediately made an empty promise, hoping that Xiaoping would spare its life. A crow is also a prince? Xiaoping was very doubtful. The crow of misfortune's nose was crooked from anger. So what if I'm a crow? Can't a crow be a prince? You're judging people by their appearance. When the crow of misfortune race dominated the world, it had nothing to do with you humans. It revealed an arrogant look. Clearly, it still remembered the prestige of its ancestors. None of my business. Xiaoping said lazily, I only care about whether you can give me benefits. Since your race is so awesome, you naturally have a lot of treasures, right? What treasured artifacts? Just give me 4 or 5 of them and send me away like I'm a beggar. If you don't have any treasured artifacts, give me 5 or 6,000-year-old spirit herbs or 10,000-year-old spirit herbs. That's not too bad. Give your sister. The crow of misfortune spat at this shameless fellow. Just give me 4 or 5 treasured artifacts. Why don't you ascend to the heavens? Do you think treasured artifacts can be given out so casually? You still say it's like sending away beggars? Damn it. You make it sound nice, but you're clearly sending away bandits. Not even a blade of grass will grow. Furthermore, as the crow of misfortune, it had never seen 1,000-year-old spirit herbs or 10,000-year-old spirit herbs before. They were all kept by the demon monarch and never showed themselves easily. This kid's appetite was boundless. He wanted to make do with 5 or 6 of them. He had never seen anything like this before. Was he not afraid that his appetite would be too big and he would die? The crow of misfortune's face darkened. No, I don't have any treasures. I only have my life. Forget it. It seems you crows of misfortune are just a bunch of poor bastards. You can't take out any money. You're probably one of those declining races. If that's the case, what's the use of you? I'll just kill you and roast you. Xia Ping looked at the crow of misfortune ferociously. He felt that this crow was only worth roasting. Wait, I, the crow of misfortune, am not poor. Feeling Xia Ping's killing intent, the crow of misfortune was so scared that it peed its pants. It quickly said, although we can't take out treasured artifacts or 1,000-year-old spirit herbs, we can still take out some ordinary spirit herbs, spirit liquids and demon cores. It showed that it was still of some value. Xia Ping rubbed his chin. He had to admit that this crow was still of some use. If he used it to blackmail the crows of misfortune, he would be able to extort a lot of money. However, if the blackmail was too much, the crows of misfortune would probably not agree. It was estimated that they would rather fight to the death. He had to maintain a balance. He couldn't let himself suffer a loss, nor could he let the crows of misfortune fly into a rage. It seems that these poor monsters are unwilling to take out treasured artifacts or 1,000-year-old spirit herbs even if I beat them to death. I can only extort some money. Xia Ping expressed that he was still very short of money. In order to buy a super battleship, he was short of money. Okay, it's not impossible to spare your life, but you have to give me 500 billion federal coins. Xia Ping opened his mouth wide. What? Hearing this, the crow of misfortune's face turned green. The human race and the monster race had been living together for such a long time. In fact, their currencies were almost the same and they would communicate from time to time. 500 billion federal coins was the same as drawing blood from the crow of misfortune. He would have to pay more than half of his wealth. Chapter 664. Okay, I agree. The crow of misfortune waited again and again and agreed to Xia Ping's blackmail, because if it didn't agree, this damn human would probably go crazy and really kill it. In order to save its own life, it had no choice but to compensate Xia Ping with 500 billion federal coins as the money to buy its life. Not bad, not bad. A wise man submits to circumstances. Xia Ping patted it on the shoulder, indicating that the other party's decision was correct. However, when he thought about it, it seemed that even if the agreement was made now, there was nothing he could do if this monster went back on its word. After all, the other party was not a human, and there was no contract binding it. It was just that he had already thought about it. After the Sky Demon battlefield was over, he would directly take this crow of misfortune away and bring it to the human world. At that time it would have no choice but to agree. If it didn't agree, it would die. Humph, stupid human. The crow of misfortune's eyes revealed a treacherous light. In fact, it knew exactly what Xia Ping was planning. It was nothing more than to take it away after the Sky Demon battlefield was over. The problem was that there were still more than 2 months before the end of the Sky Demon battlefield. In such a dangerous place, there was always a chance for it to escape during such a long time. Once it found a gap, it would not be this shameless human's turn to be in charge. It would jump freely in the sea and fly freely in the sky, ignoring the stupid human's agreement. Just you wait. The crow of misfortune bared its teeth and laughed sinisterly in its heart. Just you wait, stupid human. When this human is tricked into being lame and leaves the Sky Demon battlefield, it will not be this human's turn to speak. You want me to compensate 500 billion federal coins? Compensate my ass. However, although it thought so in its heart, it still pretended to be very painful on the surface, as if Xia Ping had really cheated hundreds of billions of federal coins. System, Is there any way to imprison this monster so that it can't pose a threat to me? Xia Ping's consciousness moved and immediately asked the system for a method. After all, there were still more than 2 months to stay in the Sky Demon battlefield. If he stared at this monster all the time, it would take a lot of his energy. He had to find a way to subdue it. Host, there is an item called the Demon Control Talisman, which is worth 20 million hatred points. The system said, if the host plants this talisman on the Crow of Misfortune, you can control the Crow of Hell with just a thought. At that time it will be the host's slave and you can deal with it however you want. You can turn it into a soft-footed shrimp in an instant, and you can even take its life. It's like when Sun Wukong wore the band-tightening curse in the myths. But it has a shortcoming. It requires the host to have extremely strong mental power. Otherwise, the host will be controlled by the other party. You must be careful when using it. Moreover, I can only control monsters below the Supreme Power 9th stage. I can't enslave monsters above this stage. 20 million hatred points, demon controlling talisman? Good stuff. Hearing this, Xia Ping's eyes lit up. He immediately knew that this demon controlling talisman was a very good thing. If he gave it to the Crow of Misfortune, it would be equivalent to obtaining a powerful fighter. He could even place the other party in the demon race as a spy and obtain a lot of information. He could also extort a large sum of money. This was simply killing 2 birds with 1 stone, making the Crow of Misfortune lose money and its soldiers. It's a pity that this demon control talisman is too expensive. It actually costs 20 million hatred points. If it was a little less, I could exchange for 10 or 8 of them and enslave a group of descendants of the Demon King. Then there would be a good show to watch. Xia Ping felt a little sorry. Exchange. With a bang, a black talisman appeared in his hand. There was a mysterious formation engraved on it, and it emitted a strange aura of the soul. And the hatred points on his body were reduced by 20 million, leaving only 25 million hatred points. What is this? The Crow of Misfortune immediately noticed that there was a black talisman in Xia Ping's hand. It instinctively felt that this was definitely not a good thing, as if it would pose a great threat to itself. Of course it's a good thing. Xia Ping immediately penetrated his mental power into it and completely refined the black talisman. Then he patted the head of the Crow of Misfortune with his big hand. What? The Crow of Misfortune tried to dodge, instinctively feeling that it was extremely dangerous. But at this time it was seriously injured and could not dodge at all. It could only watch as the black talisman poured into its mind. Boom, suddenly, the black talisman turned into a black light and merged into the depths of its soul. What the hell is this? The Crow of Misfortune shouted, and the mental power on its body vibrated, trying to expel the black light from its body, and all the monster power in its body surged. Go. Xia Ping's eyes showed a trace of coldness, and the majestic soul power on his body vibrated. This kind of power exceeded the strength of the same level by more than 10 times, equivalent to a grandmaster, and even the Crow of Misfortune could not compare. When this soul power was infused, the black light shone brightly, as if it had received a steady stream of troops. The army pressed on and broke the defense of the Crow of Misfortune. No. The Crow of Misfortune let out a shrill scream, and with a bang, the black light penetrated everything and penetrated into its soul, like a seed, which was stationed inside, taking root and germinating. Chapter 665. At this moment in the valley, Tyrant Jie and the others were anxiously waiting for Xia Ping's return. They were still worried that Xia Ping's pursuit would be successful. After all, they were too far away and they had no way of knowing the situation. Xia Ping is back. An elite student's eyes were very sharp. He immediately noticed 2 figures flying over from a distance. Yes, they were flying over. The 4 to 5 meter long Crow of Misfortune was sullen and flying over in grief and indignation. Xia Ping was like an emperor sitting on the body of the crow, insufferably arrogant. Boom! Immediately, the Crow of Misfortune landed on the ground, stirring up a cloud of dust. The surrounding elite students coughed incessantly. Xia Ping? Many elite students were stunned. They looked at the scene in front of them in disbelief. If Xia Ping returned empty-handed, they could understand. After all, the Crow of Misfortune had the ability to fly. If it flew away from a high altitude, no one would be able to catch it. If Xia Ping moved the corpse of the Crow of Misfortune back, they could also understand. After all, Xia Ping's ferocity was obvious. If he chased after it, it was very possible that the Crow of Misfortune was killed because of a moment of carelessness. However, they couldn't understand the current situation. Among the demon race, the famous king race, the Crow of Misfortune, thought of itself as a supreme creature, an emissary from hell, and looked down on humans. But now it was like a subordinate being sat on by Xia Ping and being ordered around by him. It was clearly riding on Xia Ping's body and urinating. It was really unbelievable that the Crow of Misfortune could endure this. What had happened in the past 10 minutes? Xia Ping, what's going on? Tu Hao asked curiously. Many elite students pricked up their ears. Xia Ping waved his hand. It's nothing. Previously I was fighting to the death with this crow. Suddenly we developed feelings for each other and sparks flew. It was also impressed by my martial strength, so it decided to cut off the chicken's head and burn yellow paper to swear an oath of blood and become brothers. I'm the big brother and it's the second brother. Now it's one of us. Don't worry everyone. He gave a simple explanation. Come, little crow, say hello to everyone. With a slap, Xia Ping slapped the Crow of Misfortune's head. Little shadow. Hearing this, Tyrant Hero and the others were completely dumbfounded. It was as if they had seen the most unbelievable thing in the world. The great Crow of Misfortune was actually called Little Crow? Furthermore, weren't they sworn brothers? Why did it seem like the Crow of Misfortune was a lackey? His status was so low that he was no different from a servant. Greet your sister. The Crow of Misfortune wanted to spit on this bastard's face. It didn't want to be brothers with this shameless human at all. It was forced. However, after being implanted with the demon-controlling talisman, it knew that it could not resist any order from this bastard human for the time being. Otherwise it would be a dead end. Just you wait. When I return to the demon encampment, I'll ask the Demon King for help and completely remove this hateful talisman. The Crow of Misfortune decided to bow down for now. As the saying goes, a good demon does not fight when the odds are against it. Right now he was inferior to Zhang Xian. Even if he were to force himself to resist, it would not end well for him. Thus, he might as well listen to Zhang Xian's orders for the time being and let Zhang Xian lower his guard before dealing a fatal blow. Thinking of this, he squeezed out a stiff smile and said to Tyrant Jier and the others, Hello everyone. I'm really sorry for what happened before. I was a little impulsive. As the saying goes, no discord, no concord. From now on we are all friends. The human race and the demon race will live in harmony and progress together to build a beautiful home. Tyrant Jier and the others were speechless. This was the first time they heard the ferocious demon race talk about living in harmony. When had the demon race not been shouting about killing and massacring an entire city? Now it was as obedient as a pet. It even wanted to live in harmony with them and build a beautiful home together. They all felt like they were dreaming. However, although they didn't know what method Xia Ping had used, they were sure that the Crow of Misfortune had been taught a lesson by Xia Ping. It would not be able to cause any trouble in a short period of time. Xia Ping, since we've obtained the spiritual liquid, we'll be leaving. What are your plans? Tyrant Jier immediately told Xia Ping his plans. After obtaining the spiritual liquid, he planned to find a place to cultivate in seclusion and break through to the Grandmaster realm. Only by advancing to the Grandmaster level would they be able to survive in this place and find more treasures. It was not only Tyrant Jier who thought this way. The other elite students also had similar thoughts. I'll stay in the valley for now. You guys go ahead. Xia Ping waved his hand, indicating that he did not want to leave for now. After all, he still had to transport all the spiritual liquid here. Okay, then we'll meet again. Tyrant Jier and the others cupped their hands at Xia Ping and turned to leave. Since he did not want to leave, they would not force him. After all, with Xia Ping's strength, there were probably not many enemies who could hurt him. You stay here and guard the valley. Don't let the enemies in, Xia Ping ordered. The Crow of Misfortune was very sullen. It wanted to refuse, but with the power of the demon-controlling talisman, it could not refuse. It could only stay outside the valley and act as a guardian. However, it also silently circulated the demon power in its body and quickly recovered from its injuries. As a king race, its recovery ability had reached a terrifying level. As long as it was not a fatal injury, it would probably be completely healed in a night. Just you wait. After I advance to the Grandmaster realm, I'll settle the score with that bastard human. The Crow of Misfortune was looking forward to it. Maybe after it advanced to the Grandmaster realm, it would be able to destroy the so-called demon-controlling talisman. But obviously it was thinking too much. Even if it reached the peak of the Grandmaster realm, it would not be able to destroy it. Whoosh! Xia Ping ignored the various thoughts of the Crow of Misfortune. His figure flashed and immediately entered the depths of the valley. Mo, mo, mo. All of it. At this moment Xia Ping was like a robber. Not even a blade of grass was left. He moved all the spiritual liquid in the deep pool and put it into his spatial ring. In just half an hour, the entire deep pool was completely emptied. Nothing was left. Although the celestial demon battlefield had existed for many years and geniuses of the demon clan and the human clan came to take the spiritual liquid every time, there was no way to empty it. Now Xia Ping had taken all of it. If he wanted to restore it to its current state, it would take at least hundreds of years. This time Xia Ping calculated carefully. He had obtained a total of 4 to 5 tons of spiritual liquid, which could be used for bathing. This is great. What sustainable development. What I want is to pluck feathers from the geese. Snatch, snatch, snatch. Snatch all the treasures. This is the great Tao of heaven and earth. Xia Ping felt refreshed. If anyone came to this valley to obtain the spiritual liquid, they would probably be hopping mad. After obtaining so much spiritual liquid, it seems like I have to find a place to cultivate in seclusion and break through to the 9th level of the martial master realm. Xia Ping felt that a mere 8th level of the martial master realm would not be able to dominate the celestial demon battlefield for the time being. Those geniuses had already advanced to the grandmaster realm and were many times stronger. If this continued, he would probably be surrounded and beaten to death by those demons. He had to increase his strength as soon as possible. Whoosh. Chapter 666. With the departure of Tyrant Jie and the others, the news of Xia Ping killing dozens of monsters and taming the Crow of Misfortune spread throughout the Sky Demon battlefield. Many people knew about it. How savage. Xia Ping is simply a freak. Dozens of demons were killed by him. Is this true? Of course it's true. Tyrant Jie and the others saw it with their own eyes. How could it be false? He's simply a monster. Who is the real monster here? He even tamed the Crow of Misfortune. How did he do it? No matter how he did it, given his strength as a martial master, he would definitely be beaten up if he met that boy. All the treasures would be snatched away by him, leaving nothing behind. Yes, break through to the Grandmaster realm immediately. Otherwise, all the benefits will be snatched away by that bastard. Many elite students in the Sky Demon battlefield were dumbfounded when they heard the news. They had never expected Xia Ping to be so ferocious. Dozens of Demon King descendants were not cabbages, yet they were killed just like that. Although he might have borrowed the power of a treasure tool, it was still very shocking. It did not mean that one would be invincible with a treasure tool. It depended on the person. If the person was not strong enough, no matter how powerful the treasure tool was, it would still be a treasure. Furthermore, the Crow of Misfortune was a famous monster. It had committed countless massacres in the past. It was known as the emissary of hell, bringing death and misfortune to countless creatures. However, such a monster had been tamed by Xia Ping. It was simply incredible. Some people felt a sense of urgency. If they did not break through to the Grandmaster realm, they were afraid that they could only live under Xia Ping's control. All the treasures would be snatched away by him. This news spread to the ears of the Demon King descendants, immediately causing them to be furious. He's too arrogant. A tiger demon shouted angrily, that human Xia Ping actually dared to do such a thing. He killed dozens of our companions. This is a slap in the face to our demon race. He's declaring war on us. He was furious. He felt that this was a great humiliation. In the past, when they appeared in the celestial demon battlefield, it was always their demon race that had the upper hand and chased those stupid humans to flee. But now, before the battle even started, dozens of them had been killed by those bastard humans. They suffered heavy losses. If this wasn't a great humiliation, then what was? What is that Crow of Misfortune doing? A lion demon gritted its teeth and said, it has already appeared in that place, yet it didn't quickly capture that damned human and torture him. Yet it was actually tamed? What a joke. Didn't it say that it wanted to capture that human as a slave? How did it become its slave now? Is there something wrong with its brain? Did it misunderstand the logic? With the Crow of Misfortune's strength, it was impossible for it to not be able to defeat that damned person. The problem was that there was news that the Crow of Misfortune had been tamed by a human. This was too exaggerated. The Crow of Misfortune is a demon with a screw loose in the head. It's always arrogant, bragging about the glory of its ancestors. In fact, it's just a hot-headed, half-baked youth without much strength. It was taught a lesson by a human as soon as it made a move. I guess it will be honest in the future. I want to see how it can still be arrogant in the future. It gloated because it didn't have a good impression of that crow. It had been bullied by that guy before, saying that it was a weak race. Now that it was beaten up by a human and completely tamed, it felt that it deserved it. Okay, don't gloat here. A fox demon's eyes revealed a cold light. There is no doubt about the strength of Crow of Misfortune. Even among the descendants of so many monster kings, it is definitely one of the best. But now it has been defeated and captured by that human. One can imagine how terrifying that human Xia Ping is. He is definitely extraordinary. Everyone must be careful. Previously, it had underestimated humans and thought that a small human was no match for it. But when it heard that even Crow of Misfortune had fallen into the hands of a human, it immediately became vigilant. If it was careless, it was afraid that it would fail miserably. It's nothing. Crow of Misfortune is just a crow. How can it be compared to us? The three-eyed giant sneered. If I encounter that human, I will definitely tear him apart. It wished that it could immediately find the human, Xia Ping, and kill him. This proved that the martial prowess of the three-eyed giant race was above that of Crow of Misfortune. This was a great opportunity. The eyes of the surrounding demons flickered. Previously they had only heard of Xia Ping's name, but after killing dozens of demons and even defeating Crow of Misfortune, they immediately didn't dare to be careless. They no longer dared to be careless. This was definitely an unimaginably powerful enemy. However, it didn't mean that they were afraid of the human. Instead, it aroused their ferocity. They wished that they could immediately find Xia Ping and tear him apart to prove the courage of the monster race. At that moment, Xia Ping was cultivating in seclusion in a remote cave in the Sky Demon battlefield. As for the Crow of Misfortune, it was ordered to stay outside the cave and help him guard the cave entrance. It would kill all the enemies that disturbed his cultivation and act as a guard. With the command of the demon control talisman, no matter how aggrieved the Crow of Misfortune was, it had to accept it. It couldn't even take a step away. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. After obtaining the spirit liquid, water moon grass, and other rare treasures, Xia Ping's seclusion cultivation improved by leaps and bounds. He broke through 12 meridians in a row and reached the peak of the 8th heavenly layer of the martial master realm. As expected of the spirit liquid, its effects are simply too good. Xia Ping felt that the spirit liquid was simply the purest form of energy. There were no side effects and it was easy to absorb. This greatly increased his cultivation speed. In just a few days he broke through to the peak of the 8th heavenly layer of the martial master realm. If it was during normal times he probably wouldn't be able to do this even after spending several months. Alright, this is the time. Today I will break through to the 9th heavenly layer of the martial master realm. Xia Ping circulated the pure yang immortal art. The solar furnace in his body continuously digested the spirit liquid, water moon grass, and other energy. His quintessential essence surged like lava and flowed around his meridians. Rumble, when the energy reached its peak, Xia Ping felt a faint stabbing pain in his meridians. It seemed that his mental energy had also reached its peak state at this moment. At this moment, a large amount of quintessential essence vibrated and battered against a certain door in his body. It was like a tidal wave, wave after wave, unceasing and unending. It was as if there was a divine bird crying out in his body. The golden crow of hell cells were also awakening, being refined into a large amount of pure energy that continuously strengthened his body. Bang! After an unknown amount of time, the door finally cracked open from the impact, and the majestic true essence greatly increased, pouring into the newly opened meridians. Chapter 667. Success. Xia Ping could feel his surging true energy. After breaking through a meridian he could feel that he had advanced to a new realm. He had reached the 9th layer of the martial master realm. This was the strength of the peak of the martial master realm. It could be said that at this moment he had already opened 100 meridians. As long as he could open 108 meridians, he would have the strength to break through to the martial master realm. What's going on? The true essence in your body has transformed? At this moment, Xia Ping discovered that his Dantian's qi had undergone a huge transformation. Because his true energy was extremely dense, it was many times stronger than an ordinary martial master realm cultivator. Quantitative change resulted in qualitative change. A whirlpool formed in his Dantian's qi. After being refined by the sun furnace, a large amount of true energy had undergone a transformation. It had actually condensed into a tenacious aura. Astral energy. Xia Ping instantly sensed that this was the power that only martial masters had, astral energy. True energy, astral energy. This was the path of a martial artist's transformation step by step. In order to advance to the martial master realm, the true energy in one's body had to undergo a transformation, producing astral energy. Once one had astral energy, one's attack power, speed, and defense would be many times stronger than a martial master realm cultivator. Is this astral energy? Xiaoping's thoughts moved, and an extremely sharp astral energy surged from his finger. It was like an indestructible sword that could easily pierce through steel. Such power was many times stronger than true energy. In the legends, martial masters could fight against missiles with their bare hands. They didn't fear the might of any bombs. Even in a rain of bullets, they could remain unscathed. The crux of all this was astral energy. After refining astral energy, its density was more than 10 times stronger than true energy. When condensed into a protective barrier, the density was greatly increased. Even the might of a missile explosion wouldn't be able to harm it at all. At the same time, the explosive power of astral energy was even more terrifying. If true energy attacks were like mud, then astral energy attacks would be like steel. They weren't on the same level at all. In fact, astral energy had all sorts of miraculous uses. It wasn't something that true energy could compare to. This was an even higher level of energy. Go! Xiaoping gently pointed his finger, and a wisp of astral energy instantly shot out. It was as if even the air could not obstruct it. The mountain wall in the distance was immediately penetrated, and was easily torn apart like tofu. With a bang, a fist-sized hole appeared in front of him. It was 5 or 6 meters deep, and a large amount of gravel was shattered by this force. Such power! Xiaoping was shocked. This was the first time he had felt the power of a grandmaster. It was just a wisp of earth energy, but it was 10 times stronger than the 10 wisps of quintessential essence from before. Moreover, when using it, there was basically no leakage of energy. This was an improvement in quality, a transition in the essence of life. It seems that controlling it has become easier. Xiaoping could sense that the solar furnace in his dantian was constantly refining and extracting true essence, transforming it into strands of astral qi. The amount of stellar energy in his body seemed to be increasing. With a bang, with a move of his will, he grabbed out with his hand. Astral qi vibrated, and a meter-long sword was actually formed. It emitted a cold light, and the coldness was extremely oppressive. With a bang, Xiaoping grabbed this meter-long sword and slashed it at a rock in the distance. Instantly, this rock was split into two, and dazzling sparks erupted. Too powerful. It's almost the same as a real long sword. Is this the power of astral qi? Xiaoping held the long sword in his hand and felt that it was real to the touch. When he was still in the quintessential essence era, he could also condense long swords. However, those long swords were like inferior weapons that could be destroyed with a casual strike. But after condensing astral qi, a casual longsword that he condensed was actually as tough as a real sword made of steel. Its might was several times stronger. He felt that if he used martial techniques like the head-piercing 7 arrows art now, the might would definitely be greatly enhanced. My mental energy has also been greatly enhanced. Xiaoping sat cross-legged on the ground and closed his eyes. The mental energy in the depths of his consciousness had also been greatly enhanced. It spread out and covered a radius of 4 to 5 kilometers. Within this range, not even the slightest movement could escape his perception. If he used the Epic of Heaven, he would probably be able to cover a radius of 3 to 400 meters, and its might would increase by several times. He also sensed that the crow of misfortune seemed to be cultivating outside the cave. At this moment, its aura had undergone a great change, and it could not be mentioned in the same breath as before. Could this crow of misfortune have also made great progress these days and advanced to the Grandmaster realm? Xiaoping immediately sensed that the aura of the crow of misfortune seemed to have become more tyrannical than before. If he had encountered this level of crow of misfortune when he first entered the Sky Demon battlefield, he probably would not have been a match for it. This was a monster that had stepped into the Grandmaster realm. However, this was also to be expected. Originally, the crow of misfortune, a descendant of a monarch, had already reached the peak of the martial master realm. In order to enter the Sky Demon battlefield, it had been suppressing its cultivation and not breaking through. Now that it was in the Sky Demon battlefield, there was no need to continue suppressing its cultivation. Hence, breaking through was something that came naturally. However, even if the crow of misfortune has improved, I have also improved. In fact, my improvement is even greater. Xiaoping was not at all worried that this crow of misfortune would turn the world upside down after advancing to the Grandmaster realm. Putting aside the fact that the demon control talisman had firmly controlled it, preventing it from disobeying his orders. Now that he had advanced to the 9th firmament of the martial master realm and condensed the power of earth energy, it was no different from advancing to the Grandmaster realm. With Earth energy he would have the supreme power to fight against Grandmasters. Even if he encountered an expert at the first Grandmaster realm, Xia Ping would be able to kill him and tear him to pieces. That crow of misfortune was dreaming if it wanted to turn the world upside down. Forget it. I should continue cultivating in seclusion and condense more Earth energy. Xia Ping quickly retracted his mental strength and circulated the pure yang immortal art. The sun furnace rotated slowly, constantly refining the quintessential essence in his body into Earth energy. Wisps of Earth energy appeared in his Dantian Sea of Qi. Although the speed of this refinement was very slow, it was still progressing. He wanted to make use of this time to raise his strength to the peak and constantly improve. At that moment, the crow of misfortune outside the cave suddenly woke up and opened its eyes. What's going on? Why did I feel like I was being spied on by an enemy just now? But it disappeared in an instant. Could it be an illusion? The crow of misfortune was very puzzled. It looked around but did not discover anything. Forget it. Now that I have just advanced to the Grandmaster realm, I still have to consolidate my cultivation. No matter how it looked, it could not find the reason. Soon, the crow of misfortune let go of this matter. Its eyes shone with a ferocious light. Damn human, just you wait. After I refine this demon control talisman, I will settle the score with you. It wanted to use the demonic energy of advancing to the Grandmaster realm to destroy the demon control talisman. Fortunately, I came to the Heavenly Yao battlefield. If I missed this great opportunity, I would probably regret it for the rest of my life. In a while, let's head to the Sky Demon graveyard to take a look. It's said that countless demon monarchs perished there, leaving behind many treasures. That place is the best treasure trove in the Sky Demon battlefield. Yes, now that we have advanced to the Master Realm, we also have the strength to explore that place. Let's rest here first. We'll set off soon. One demon after another flew over. They were unbridled and tyrannical, crushing everything they encountered. It seemed like anything that tried to stop them would be turned into ashes. What? The crow of misfortune's pupils constricted as its expression changed. This was because it saw the 6 demons approaching from afar. They were the one-horned thunderbull, blackwater boar, inferno eagle, earth-shattering porcupine, wind centipede, and its nemesis, the three-eyed giant. These were all descendants of demon monarchs. Every one of them possessed terrifying strength. Furthermore, now that they had advanced to the supreme power realm, they were many times more terrifying than before. Look, isn't that the crow of misfortune? Soon, the inferno eagle flying in the distance discovered the crow of misfortune's tracks. Its eyes were extremely sharp. Even from more than 10 kilometers away, it could still capture the existence of its prey. Are you for real? Holy shit, it really is the crow of misfortune. Didn't they say that it has submitted to humans and become their combat servant? Why would it be here? I'm not sure. Let's go and ask. Immediately, the three-eyed giant and the other demons ran in the direction of the crow of misfortune. At that moment, it was impossible for the crow of misfortune to hide even if it wanted to. Isn't that the famous crow of misfortune? Why did it appear in this godforsaken place? I heard that you submitted to humans and became their combat servant. Is that true? The one who spoke was the three-eyed giant. It had a look of schadenfreude on its face. Seeing its archenemy suffer was the happiest thing in its life. It's none of your business. The crow of misfortune was so angry that its lungs were about to explode. Its face was very dark. This bastard had poked at its sore spot. He really didn't give it any face at all. After all, even if such a thing really happened, ordinary people wouldn't casually say it, afraid that the other party would feel hurt and embarrassed. However, the three-eyed giant didn't mind at all. It had specifically come up to slap the crow of misfortune's face. How is it none of my business? This is a major matter for the demon race. If you really submitted to humans, then you are a traitor. We have to clean up our ranks. Otherwise, do you know how great of a blow it will be for such a disgrace to appear among the demon race? The three-eyed giant's eyes revealed a hint of coldness as it stared at the crow of misfortune. Crow of misfortune, tell me, is this rumor true? The single-horned thunderous bull asked. Hearing this, the crow of misfortune didn't answer because it didn't know how to answer. It was true that it didn't submit to humans. After all, it was planted with a demon-controlling talisman and forced to become a combat servant. However, it didn't submit to humans. Now it was obeying their orders. Therefore this was a dilemma. Wait, there seems to be a cave here. I smell a human inside. Could it be that the human Xiaoping is cultivating in this cave? The wind centipede's sense of smell was very sensitive, and it instantly noticed the cave next to it. Fuck, that human is cultivating in seclusion. What are you doing, crow of misfortune? Why are you staying outside the cave? Did you become that lowly human's watchdog? Master is cultivating, so you are guarding the house here? The three-eyed giant's face suddenly became gloomy. Before it was just teasing, but now it felt that things were serious. Did this crow of misfortune really become a human's combat servant? Was it a traitor? If this news spread, perhaps the entire 1,000-demon mountain would be shocked. Who knew how many demon kings would be angry? They might even want to kill the crow of misfortune. Chapter 669. It's not what you think. You should leave as soon as possible. Don't stay here. The crow of misfortune's tone was very firm. It wanted the three-eyed giant and the other monsters to leave. Leave my ass. The Blackwater grizzly bear's temper was very explosive. It immediately roared, Crow of misfortune, tell me the truth. Did you become that human's watchdog and guard his house? The three-eyed giant and the other monsters stared at the crow of misfortune with killing intent. This was very serious. In the human world, it would be like a king's descendant had surrendered to the monster race and become a monster's dog. This was an extremely bad betrayal. I can't say anything about this. The crow of misfortune's attitude was still very firm. It wouldn't say anything even if it was beaten to death. Crow of misfortune, there's something wrong with your attitude. Do you think you're fucking in the right to be a monster's traitor? Do you think being a human's dog is very glorious? The three-eyed giant said in a strange tone. Three-eyed giant, if you dare to say anything else, I'll kill you. The crow of misfortune was furious. It couldn't stand the three-eyed giant for even half a second. Tell me, what did that human give you? Why are you still protecting him? The earth-splitting porcupine stared at the crow of misfortune. It couldn't understand. The crow of misfortune was a king race and had a high status in Wanyao Mountain. How could it be bribed by a puny human? It was even willing to become his battle servant. It racked its brains but still couldn't understand. There are no benefits at all. The crow of misfortune straightened its neck. Fuck. The one-horned thunder bull slapped its head. Nothing, yet you still serve him and become his battle servant. Is there something wrong with you? Did you fall in love with that human? It had once heard of demons and humans falling in love, giving birth to many inspiring stories. The problem was that those stories were between males and females. It had never seen two males falling in love. Love your sister. Don't talk nonsense here. The crow of misfortune's face darkened. Moreover, he was in love with that human. It simply wanted to immediately take that brat's life. The Blackwater explosive bear shouted, "What's there to talk about? Let's just barge into the cave and kill that human. That's the end of it." You're right. That human kid seems to still be in closed-door cultivation. This is a great opportunity. We can kill him with a single slap while he's not paying attention. Who knows how much time we'll have saved? The wind centipede said in a creepy voice, emitting a terrifying murderous aura. The three-eyed giant and the other demons nodded as well. Regardless of the crow of misfortune's difficulties, nothing would happen as long as they destroyed the human. Moreover, that brat was on the demon clan's must-kill list. After killing him, there would be a lot of benefits. In summary, not killing Xiaoping was simply intolerable by the heavens. Stop right there. If you dare take even half a step in here, I won't be polite to you. The crow of misfortune stood forward, blocking the three-eyed giant and the other demons from advancing. To be honest, it did not want to stop him. The problem was that the demon-controlling talisman was like a ticking time bomb. If it offended that human, it was afraid that it would die without a burial. So, no matter what, it had to do its duty. You've indeed become a traitor. You actually protect humans to such an extent. What medicine did he give you? Kill this hopelessly stupid crow now. There's no need for any evidence. Let's just kill it. Who knows, the crows of misfortune might even reward us. The three-eyed giant and the other demons stared intently at the crow of misfortune. Previously, they had suspected that the crow of misfortune had defected to the enemy, but from the looks of it, there was no way it was fake. The human was in closed-door cultivation, so it was the best opportunity to kill the kid. However, the crow of misfortune had come to stop him. It was obvious how close the two were. Murderous intent surged from their hearts. They decided that they could not let the crow of misfortune continue living. Otherwise, this fellow would be a disgrace to the demons and would shake their foundation. Crow of misfortune, since you want to stop us and be a traitor, die. The three-eyed giant's killing intent surged as he wanted to attack the crow of misfortune. Dong. Just then a loud sound came from the cave. Sand and stones flew everywhere. A rock blocking the cave exploded on the spot, turning into countless gravel and dust. With a swoosh, a figure walked out of the dust. It was Xia Ping. What's with all the noise? Can't you let me sleep? Don't you have any morals? Xia Ping's sleepy eyes were loose as if he had just woken up. His temper was not very good. He looked at the three-eyed giant and the other demons ferociously. Sleep your ass. The black water explosive bear was very short-tempered. Something like this has happened and you're still sleeping in the cave. You're really brave. Get over here and explain to me why the crow of misfortune is your battle servant. If you dare to reveal the slightest reason, I'll beat you until you wish you were dead. He clenched his fists, making cracking sounds. The muscles all over his body swelled, and his demonic power surged. The ground trembled as if it could not bear this aura. Several cracks appeared on the ground. This was the aura of a Grand Master. It could not be compared to a martial arts master or a demon. The difference was like heaven and earth. It seemed to have the power to control the world. Noisy. With a swoosh, Xia Ping's figure flashed. He circulated the earth energy in his body and used the Kunpeng steps. At that moment, a pair of Kunpeng wings appeared on his back. These wings were much more terrifying than when he was in the martial arts master realm. They were almost solid like real Kunpeng wings. They emitted a white glow. Boom. In an instant, his wings flapped, producing a terrifying propulsion force. It was as if the airflow within dozens of meters was controlled by the wings. What? The black water explosive bear had no time to react. It was shocked to find that the damned human had appeared in front of it from a few hundred meters away. Too fast. The three-eyed giant and the other demons were also shocked. Even they did not know when Xia Ping had made his move. In the blink of an eye, the human had appeared in front of the black water explosive bear. He's become stronger again. The crow of misfortune was in despair. How could this bastard improve so quickly? It did not make sense. Xia Ping kicked the black water explosive bear's body lightly. Arg! Suddenly, the blackwater raging bear let out a shrill cry. The kick contained a terrifying amount of stellar energy, which instantly broke through the blackwater raging bear's demonic energy defense. Even its strong bear race body could not withstand such a terrifying force. Its bones broke one after another and its lungs were severely injured. Its entire body was sent flying. Dong. It flew for a full 2 to 3 kilometers before finally smashing into the wall of a small mountain in the distance. Immediately, a huge crater was formed and huge rocks were shattered into pieces from the impact. Chapter 670. You want to beat me up with such little ability? What a joke. Why don't you go back and ask your mother to give you some medicine? Xia Ping calmly looked at the group of demons. It was as if kicking the blackwater explosive bear away was like swatting a mosquito. It was nothing. After reaching the 9th heaven of martial master, he had refined his gang chi and had the power to compete with a supreme power. It could be said that he was no different from a supreme power now. It was a piece of cake for him to kick a monster at the 1st heaven of supreme power realm. The 9th heaven of martial master. The crow of misfortune could see that Xia Ping was much stronger than before. Although it had reached the 1st heaven of supreme power realm, this damn human was not inferior to it. He might even be stronger. This completely ruined its original plan to become the master. Damn it, what kind of drugs did this guy take? How could he make such progress so fast that he can even compete with a supreme power? The crow of misfortune said that it had never seen such a human being. How dare you attack the blackwater explosive bear? Go to hell. At this time the one-horned thunder bull shouted. It was furious when it saw that the blackwater explosive bear was seriously injured with a kick. It couldn't bear it at all. Boom. It circulated the demonic energy in its body, and the purple horn on its head crackled. The power of lightning flickered, and it seemed to form thunderclouds above its head. Its 4 hooves ran crazily like a super tank attacking Xia Ping crazily. The power of lightning and the power of the ox demon, when these two powers were added together, it was simply terrifying. It was as if it could even cause a small mountain to crumble down. Let's kill this human together. The flaming eagle moved the fastest. It flapped its wings and a huge flame emerged from its body, like a divine bird of flames. It swooped down from the sky like a supersonic plane, tearing the air apart. The terrible sound waves came from the surroundings and cracked the earth. The air in the air was pushed away and condensed into a substance. It spread out layer by layer like waves. These vibrations contained terrible destructive power. It even burst into a huge flame. The temperature was so high that it could even melt steel. This was the power of the flaming eagle itself. It knew how to control flames and was born in flames. It usually lived in the depths of volcanic magma and fed on it. Foolish human, attacking the demon race is the biggest mistake you've made in your life. The earth-splitting porcupine roared. Its body was 4 or 5 meters tall. It ran like a small mountain. Its 4 huge hooves trampled on the ground. It seemed to have the power to control the earth. Every time it ran, it would control the power of the earth and produce terrible earth fluctuations. With a few kacha-kacha sounds it ran over and the earth immediately split open. Its entire body weighed dozens of tons, and when it came crashing over, even a tall building would be smashed into pieces. This was the power of the earth-splitting porcupine. It had the ability to control the earth. This was the power of the earth-splitting porcupine. It could control the earth. In the past, when the human race and the demon race were at war, the earth-shattering porcupines would attack by the thousands. In just a few breaths, the earth would quake and a human city would be razed to the ground. No life would survive. The wind centipede was the most sinister. It was a poisonous species. Even a king would have a headache if they came in contact with its poison. The wind centipede was the most sinister. It was a poisonous species. Even a king would have a headache if they came in contact with its poison. 1 gram of its poison could kill millions of people. Even earth energy would be corroded if a master stage cultivator came in contact with it. Not to mention it was a wind centipede. It had the power to control the wind and was extremely fast. In a short-distance attack, it was twice as fast as the flaming eagle. Coupled with the terrifying toxins in its body, it was practically invincible when it tried to assassinate its enemies. Any creature that was targeted by it would basically die. Swish. In an instant, the wind centipede disappeared. It was like a dart flying at supersonic speed. It disappeared into the air without a sound. Even the naked eye couldn't see it clearly. The 3-eyed giant didn't make a move. It had an arrogant look on its face. It seemed to think that as long as the demon brothers attacked, it would be easy to kill Xia Ping. It didn't need to do anything. Stupid. Xia Ping immediately took out the soul-bewitching bell and injected his earth energy into it. Immediately, the soul-bewitching bell exploded with great power. This power was several times more terrifying than before. Jingle, jingle, suddenly, with the soul-bewitching bell as the center, circles of spiritual waves invisible to the naked eye were produced. Its speed was many times faster than the speed of sound. In a breath's time, it had spread to a radius of 300 meters. This spiritual wave was all-pervasive and indestructible. It hit the monsters that attacked Xia Ping. Ah! Immediately, the 4 monsters that attacked Xia Ping let out shrill screams. They felt as if their souls had been hit hard, as if someone had smashed them in the back of the head with a brick. They felt as if their eyes were seeing stars. There was also a momentary gap in the previous attack. Usually such a gap was nothing. However, in a battle between experts such a gap was fatal. Especially the wind centipede. The speed was too fast. It was even faster than the flame eagle. In an instant it was 2 or 3 meters away from Xia Ping. There was still some distance left before it reached Xia Ping. It would also rely on its incomparably fast speed to instantly pierce through Xia Ping's body and release its venom at the same time, forcefully poisoning him to death, causing him to die without a whole corpse. However, after being hit by the power of the soul-bewitching bell, its whole body appeared in mid-air. It was as if it had been immobilized. It stopped in mid-air and couldn't move. Xia Ping didn't even look at it. He used the pure yang immortal incantation. This palm contained the terrifying essence of the sun. The flame burned wildly. It seemed to be even more terrifying than before. Its color was even darker. It was like a thick mass of darkness that couldn't be dispelled. Dong. This power hit the wind centipede's body. Suddenly it felt like a mountain had crashed down. The bones in its body were shattered into dozens of pieces. At the same time, black flames surrounded the wind centipede's body and instantly burned it. No, no, no. The wind centipede let out a shrill scream. It was even more miserable than the scream of a pig being slaughtered. It was as if it had suffered the torture of the 18th level of hell. Even its soul was being burned by the flames. In just a breath's time, its whole body was burned into charcoal. It lost all signs of life. With a bang, its body fell to the ground, creating a pit. Chapter 671. What? The Crow of Misfortune was shocked. Even though it knew that Xia Ping's strength had increased greatly and that he was no match for him, it did not expect him to kill the Wind Centipede in one move. It was unbelievable. Wind Centipede. The three-eyed giant's eyes were wide open. The Wind Centipede was its companion. Although it did not have a deep relationship with it, it could not watch it be killed by a lowly human. The problem was that the human bastard's attack speed was too fast, so fast that it couldn't react at all. It only reacted when the Wind Centipede's body was burnt to a crisp and fell to the ground. However, the Wind Centipede was already dead, so there was no way it could save it. However, this was just the beginning. Kill? With a bang, Xia Ping took a step forward and struck with his right palm. King-level martial technique, Palm of the Buddha. This palm contained the power of earth energy. It was simply an attack of a master. A golden Buddha condensed in the air. It was resplendent and dazzling like the sun. The Buddha was wrapped in black flames. When it struck with its palm, gold and black entangled, holy and dark merged, light and evil all mixed together, emitting an extremely strange feeling. However, it was extraordinarily powerful, as if the Buddha had descended to the human world. Dong. This palm slapped hard on the earth-splitting porcupine that was charging towards it. It fell from the sky and the entire air seemed to collapse. The ground was shaken by more than 10 centimeters. Damn it. The earth-splitting porcupine was inexplicably shocked. It felt as if it was being stared at by a giant hundreds of meters tall. Although it was also a wild boar with a huge body and running like a bus, it was not even worth mentioning. Compared to this giant palm, it was not even worth mentioning at all. It originally wanted to stop charging, lest it hit the enemy's muzzle. However, its speed was too fast, its body was too heavy, and the force of inertia was too strong. There was no way it could stop. He could only look on helplessly as the giant palm came crashing down. Bang! At this moment, the giant golden palm pressed down in the air, exploding with terrifying power. It slapped the body of the earth-splitting porcupine like a falling mountain. Ah! The earth-splitting porcupine let out a miserable scream. Its entire body was slapped into the ground, sinking more than 10 meters deep. The ground shook and collapsed, forming dozens of cracks. At the same time, the giant palm also erupted with black flames. As if it had a life of its own, it instantly wrapped around the body of the earth-splitting porcupine and burned wildly. In an instant, the ball of flame completely roasted the earth-splitting porcupine's body, and a meaty aroma filled the air. With a little more cumin, it could be eaten as barbecued meat. The earth-splitting porcupine was also slapped to death by this palm. The earth-splitting porcupine was also slapped to death. When the one-horned thunderbull saw two of its companions killed by Xia Ping with a single palm strike, its eyes turned bloodshot. It was like a bulldog that had seen a red cloth. It lost all rationality. In this way, the demonic power in its body was completely stimulated. The lightning that was originally the size of a thumb quickly evolved to the thickness of an arm, and its power increased by 2 to 3 times. Its single horn flickered with the power of purple lightning. It was like a lightning spear, indestructible. Coupled with the terrifying strength of the Ox clan, this kind of impact would even be able to pierce through a huge mountain. What a powerful lightning power! Seeing this scene, the Crow of Misfortune was shocked. This single-horned lightning bull was definitely not simple. It possessed the bloodline of a divine beast. If the Crow of Misfortune were to face this attack, it would most likely be pierced through and turned into a dried corpse. However, Xia Ping didn't dodge. He stood there expressionlessly and extended his right hand to gently block the one-horned thunderbull's horn. Bang! The power of lightning and the power of the bull surged forward like a flood. This level of power was enough to destroy everything. However, layer after layer of energy barriers surged out from Xia Ping's body. There were hundreds and thousands of them. Every layer of the energy shield looked like a piece of white paper, but in reality they were even tougher than cowhide. Furthermore, there were hundreds and thousands of layers stacked on top of each other, constantly resonating, madly weakening the power of lightning and the power of the bull. This energy shield was like a whale that devoured everything it touched, completely swallowing up the energy. No matter how hard the horned lightning bull tried, it couldn't break through the energy art. Impossible. The one-horned lightning bull shrieked, its face bright red. It couldn't believe its eyes. Even a descendant of a demon king wouldn't be able to block this attack. But now, this damned human was merely standing there. He did not even use any magic treasures. Instead, he had merely raised his palm and blocked his fatal attack. This was simply too ridiculous. Backlash. Xia Ping looked at the one-horned lightning bull coolly, then drew on the Dark North bodyguard art. The terrifying energy that had been absorbed by the Dark North bodyguard art flowed through his limbs and back into his hand. He was giving it a taste of its own medicine. Boom. The one-horned lightning bull let out a miserable shriek. It could sense how terrifying its attack was, and it was sent flying like a piece of trash. It flew through the air for a full 2 or 3 kilometers before smashing into the side of a mountain, creating a pit in the shape of an ox. In the distance, more than a dozen boulders that weighed several tons were smashed to pieces. The lightning also crazily vented on the ground, turning trees into charcoal. Dozens of tons of soil splashed out in all directions, causing the earth to tremble. The one-horned lightning bull also fell to the ground, constantly coughing up blood. It was obvious that it had breathed in more than it breathed out. A large amount of blood flowed on the ground, dyeing it red. Fuck, it died just like that? The raging flame eagle was so frightened that it nearly lost its soul. The earth-shattering porcupine was a demon with extremely strong defense. Its body was covered in armor formed by the power of the earth. Ordinary forces would not be able to penetrate its porcupine skin. But now it was killed by a single palm from that human. Even the flames were extremely terrifying. In an instant, the earth-splitting porcupine was roasted and turned into a roasted pig. Even the ferocious attack of the one-horned lightning bull was easily blocked by this human. The rebound caused the one-horned lightning bull to be shaken to death. It was a terrifying mess. If it were to collide with the muzzle of this human, it would probably become a roasted eagle. How could it still be alive? Boom. It hurriedly flapped its wings and stepped on the brakes to control its speed. After all, its body was not as huge as the earth-splitting porcupine, and its inertia was not as strong. If it used all its strength, it could still stop its speed. This was the advantage of the flaming eagle. Swish. Chapter 672. Don't even think of escaping. Xia Ping pulled out the hell spear in his right hand. His entire body's astral energy surged, causing the air around him to distort and produce all sorts of strange phenomena. The aura of hell spread out as if he were the ruler of hell itself. What? The crow of misfortune shuddered when it sensed this aura. It felt as if something deep within its body was being drawn out by this aura, and was beginning to stir. It felt like it wanted nothing more than to crawl at the feet of this damned human. This wasn't the power of the demon-controlling talisman, but the power that came from the depths of its bloodline. It couldn't resist at all. It felt incomparably terrified. It had no idea why it was feeling this way. Had it really been completely subdued by this shameless human? Stop. The three-eyed giant couldn't take it anymore. It had wanted to watch from the sidelines, but in just a few breaths' time, 2 of its monster companions had been killed by this human, and the fate of another was unknown. Now he wanted to kill the Blaze Eagle. This human wanted them all dead. However, the human was simply too fast. It couldn't even save its other monster companions in time, but it definitely wouldn't allow this human to kill the Blaze Eagle. Boom. In an instant, the three-eyed giant moved extremely quickly. It threw a punch, condensing a terrifying astral energy. A solid fist appeared in the air, shaking the earth. This punch contained an unknown amount of terrifying power. If one was hit by it, even a small mountain would be pierced through, and the entire mountain would be split apart. Kunping steps. With a whoosh, Xia Ping didn't even look at the three-eyed giant. His entire body was like a Kunping soaring through the sky at will. Using strange footwork, he easily dodged the three-eyed giant's attack. Dong. The punch blasted through the air, hitting a small mountain several hundred meters away. The terrifying fist force brought with it an astonishing gust of wind. Along the way, the terrifying fist force forcibly tore out a dirt path several hundred meters long. Dozens of tons of soil flew to the side and trees were crushed to pieces. A clear fist-sized hole appeared on the small mountain in the distance. The marks around it were extremely obvious. Due to the extreme speed and constant friction, there was a burning smell in the air. Die. After evading the three-eyed giant's attack, Xia Ping gripped the hell spear in his hand and imbued it with a boundless amount of astral energy. Immediately, numerous hellish martial techniques surged into his mind, creating a multitude of spear afterimages. Shio. The hell spear was like a supersonic plane. It tore through the air and spun crazily. The tip of the spear contained a sharp aura and seemed indestructible. Damn it. Originally, the raging flame eagle had assumed that he would be able to escape with the three-eyed giant's help. Unexpectedly, this kid was too much of a monster. He even brought out a prized artifact. It could feel that this precious artifact was extremely terrifying and contained the aura of hell. It clearly hadn't attacked yet, but it already made its sea of consciousness produce countless illusions. It was as if fiends had emerged from hell and were tearing at its soul. In fact, the hell spear was like the god of the underworld that had locked onto its soul. No matter how it struggled to escape, it couldn't escape the attack of the god of the underworld. Dong. Before the flame eagle could think of a way to escape, the hell spear arrived in front of it and pierced its body without hesitation. Arg! In an instant, the flame eagle let out a blood-curdling screech. Its gigantic body was flung 2 to 3 kilometers away along with the hell spear. Finally, with a dong, the hell spear nailed the flame eagle to a huge mountain wall. A large amount of blood flowed down, but it was all absorbed and devoured by the hell spear. The flame eagle's eyes were wide open, as if it couldn't believe that it had been killed just like that. Human, I'm going to kill you. When the three-eyed giant saw that the flame eagle had been killed, its eyes were wide open and its lungs were about to explode. It had already attacked, but it still couldn't stop the human's attack. This was like a slap to its face. It couldn't bear it at all. Get over here and die. Xiaoping looked at the three-eyed giant indifferently and gave it a sidelong glance. He didn't care about it at all. Die. The three-eyed giant was enraged. With a bang, it took out a black stick that was 4 to 5 meters long. This was the great weapon of the giant clan, the Wolf Fang Mace. It was a terrifying great weapon made from the teeth of the Green Wolf King. It was indestructible and extremely hard. One hit from the Wolf Fang Mace could crack the ground and smash a wild beast into meat paste. Together with the three-eyed giant's terrifying strength, it was like adding wings to a tiger. The three-eyed giant's martial art, Overlord battle technique. The Wolf Fang Mace smashed towards Xiaoping. It was extremely overbearing, as if it was an overlord. The air around it was crushed, forming a vacuum zone. This kind of power was like a falling star. If it didn't die, it would be injured. Die. Xiaoping took a step forward, as if he didn't care about the three-eyed giant's terrifying attack at all. He struck out with his palm. It was silent, as if there was no rhythm or technique to it. However, the power of this palm was stacked layer by layer. It was like the waves of the sea, containing the power to destroy everything. It was like a flood, destroying everything in its path. Nothing could stop it. King-level extreme rank martial art, Slackless Palm. Dong. The Wolf Fang Mace and the Slackless Palm collided. Countless air currents collided with each other, creating loud clanging sounds. It was like countless soldiers were fighting in an army, causing dazzling sparks to fly. At the center of the collision, a deep pit with a diameter of tens of meters was formed. Soil flew everywhere and dense cracks appeared on the ground. So strong. Even the crow of misfortune could feel how strong this power was. It was like two giants were fighting each other. This was a collision of barbaric strength, the most primitive kind of collision. Even with its strength, it couldn't help but take a few steps back. It had to dissipate all the power in order to avoid being injured. As expected of the three-eyed giant race. This kind of strength is not just for show. Xiaoping's eyes lit up. He could feel his palms going numb. The Wolf Fang Mace was emitting boundless vibrational power. The three-eyed giant was born with great strength. Together with the piercing power of the Wolf Fang Mace, the power of the two stacked together. It was not something an ordinary person could block. If an ordinary person met the three-eyed giant, they would probably be killed on the spot and turned into meat paste. Chapter 673. How is this possible? You're just a lowly human. How can you fight me in terms of strength? This is a joke. What a joke. The three-eyed giant was confident in its own strength. Other than the freakishly powerful elephant race, it was probably the only giant race that could do anything. The problem was that when it swung its cudgel down and fought with this human barehanded, it felt a terrifying backlash from the other party. It felt numb and its blood and chi churned. It had the urge to vomit blood. It was a three-eyed giant, a race that was born with godly strength. It could move mountains and drain oceans. Now it was numbed by a tiny human. Wasn't this a joke? But how could it know how terrifying Xiaoping's bloodline was? He had the bloodline of the golden crow of hell, and his strength was comparable to a baby divine beast. This bloodline constantly strengthened Xiaoping's muscles and bones, making him evolve in a non-human direction. Even though the three-eyed giant race was strong, it was still far from being able to compete with the golden crow of hell. But it didn't know this. It thought it was at a disadvantage against the human. Even the power it was most proud of had lost to the human. How could it accept this? I will kill you and wash away the shame of the three-eyed giant. With a boom, the three-eyed giant's bloodline power swelled. Its muscles swelled and its bones enlarged. Its body grew even taller, reaching a height of 20 meters. This was one of the gifts of the three-eyed giant race, law embodiment of heaven and earth. Of course, it was still a far cry from the legendary law embodiment of heaven and earth. But even so, once its giant bloodline was activated, it had the power to move mountains and drain oceans. Its muscles were terrifying to the extreme. Even its blood vessels were bulging like steel bars. Giants didn't need armor at all. Their muscles were the best armor. Even a sword that could cut through iron as if it were mud couldn't hurt them at all. At this moment, Xia Ping was like a tiny speck compared to this 20-meter-tall three-eyed giant. He was an ant that could be squashed to death with one hand. Human die. Ninth heaven mountain lifting fist. The three-eyed giant roared in anger. It punched out, its fist glowing with white light. It took a step forward and a supreme giant rose behind it. It was expressionless, like an overlord, suppressing the void. The unparalleled giant was a totem formed from astral energy. It was like a king of giants, shining with boundless light. It stood in midair like a god high up in the sky. This was a supreme fist art of the three-eyed giant race, a peerless king-level fist art. The air exploded with the power to uproot mountains. The ground quaked, and the enraged roar of a giant echoed out in all directions. Even the sky seemed to be on the verge of shattering, and the clouds in the sky were completely swept away by the force of the blow. This kind of power was enough to shatter of mountains. Spear. With a whoosh, Xia Ping summoned the hell spear that had nailed the raging flame eagle back to him and reappeared in his right hand. Gripping the hell spear tightly, Yang Qi lunged at the three-eyed creature. This was a hell martial art, hell-suppressing demon spear. In the blink of an eye, layers upon layers of spear shadows appeared. The hell spear seemed to have linked up with the 9 hells of hell and was stained with the aura of hell. A large amount of black aura spread out. All of the energy of heaven and earth seemed to be converging on the hell spear. Vaguely, an illusion appeared behind Xia Ping. The air distorted as if a painting of the 9 hells had appeared, enveloping the entire world. What is this? In the distance, the misfortune crow could not help but tremble at the sight of this distorted phenomenon. It was as if its blood was boiling, and its entire body was trembling. It was the 9 hells. Vast. No one could describe how big this place was. It was boundless and no end could be seen. Even the cloud realm was just a grain of sand in this world. Vast. Even if the most tyrannical race came to hell, they could only feel their own insignificance. No matter what kind of power they used, they could not shake this world in the slightest. Darkness. Bubbles emerged from the depths of hell, floating in the darkness. It was a darkness that could not be described with words. Even the abyss and even the black hole could not compare to this darkness. This darkness was corruption and corruption. It was a darkness that could corrupt even the purest and most pure of angels. Even the most evil of demons could be tainted. Even the everlasting gods had to face the supreme darkness of dusk. This was the aura of the 9 hells, the home of all death, end, dusk, and chaos. Bang! The three-eyed giant's fist was instantly pierced by Xia Ping's spear. The terrible force exploded inch by inch. Could not be blocked at all. It was as weak as tofu. Ah! The three-eyed giant couldn't help but let out a miserable shriek. The hell spear's sharp aura had struck its fist, injuring it. Blood flowed out and a wave of pain spread through its body. It was so painful that it turned pale. The vast power even forced its entire body back. If this scene was seen by others, it would be unimaginable. With just one strike, a small human had actually forced the 20-meter-tall giant back. Could not fight back at all. Impossible. The supreme fist technique of the three-eyed giant race was pierced by a lowly human spear. It did not even have the power to resist. How is this possible? The three-eyed giant was very shocked. If it had not experienced this personally, it would not have been able to imagine how terrifying this human Xia Ping spear was. It had the power to suppress gods and demons. When the human's hell spear pierced it, it felt like it was in hell. Its soul stopped in that instant and it could not even use its magic power. It was as if the entire world had stopped moving. This was a martial skill that surpassed the peerless king level. It did not belong to the mortal world. That was indeed the case. The hell-suppressing demon spear that Xia Ping had learned was a martial skill from hell. It contained supreme power and had the power to suppress demons and gods. Even though he had only scratched the surface and could not use the essence of it, it was still not something the three-eyed giant race could defend against. The difference was too great. It was like the difference between a mortal and a god. Damn it. I don't believe that a small human like you can be so lawless. I don't believe that I, the three-eyed giant, cannot kill you. The three-eyed giant roared. Chapter 674. The third eye of the three-eyed giant contained a mysterious power. Once it opened, it would explode with destructive light. This power could destroy everything. Even kings and treasured weapons would not be able to block it. But using the power of the third eye was not easy. Once it opened, it would use up all of its energy. Unless it was absolutely necessary, it would not open it. But if it really decided to open it, it would mean that it would not rest until the enemy was dead. Boom. At that moment, the third eye of the three-eyed giant opened. There seemed to be a vortex of energy deep in its pupil, and a destructive aura was brewing in its eyes. With its body as the center, a terrifying aura surged out, as if it had completely locked onto Xiaoping's aura. Oh no, it's going all out. The crow of misfortune's heart tightened. Even though it and the three-eyed giant used to be enemies, it had never forced it to use the power of its third eye. If it used the destructive light of its third eye, it would mean that the three-eyed giant would be able to completely destroy its enemy. Even the crow of misfortune would be afraid of such a power. Despicable humans, be destroyed, the three-eyed giant roared, and its third eye immediately shot out a golden light that was almost solid. This golden light contained a destructive aura, as if it had the power of gods and demons. When it was shot out, it was like a laser cannon. It was extremely fast, and it arrived before Xiaoping in an instant. No matter how fast humans were, they could not compare to the speed of the destructive light. Xiaoping naturally could not dodge it, but there was no need for him to do so at this time. He gripped the hell spear in his hand tightly, and the demon-suppressing hell spear flowed in the depths of his mind. Kill? In the blink of an eye, he pierced out with the hell spear. It contained an unparalleled Tao of suppression. This was a martial art that could suppress gods and demons. Even if he only knew a little about it right now, he could still unleash an earth-shattering power. All the power of the hell spear was activated, and a black light shot out. This was the power of hell. It was dark and dense, and it was solid. It was as if the god of hell was harvesting the power of souls. If the destructive light was the power of destruction, then this black light was the power of death. Not only would it bring death to life, but it would also bring the end to all things in the world. Bang! The two beams of light collided in an instant, like comets crashing into Yanhuang's star. A terrifying tremor erupted, and intense sparks also burst out. Qi strength shot out in all directions. The ground was immediately shaken by this energy, creating a huge crater. The soil, trees, and rocks were all shattered. The shockwave was like a bulldozer, immediately pushing everything away. What? The three-eyed giant went crazy. It used all of its strength, opening its third eye and using divine light of destruction. This was a trump card that could kill all enemies, yet it couldn't kill Xiaoping. It was too laughable. If even its last resort couldn't kill Xiaoping, then how could it kill this human? Die. Xiaopingka didn't care about the three-eyed giant's astonishment. He didn't show any mercy after gaining the upper hand. He stabbed his spear towards the three-eyed giant's body. It was indestructible and contained the power to suppress demons. It was as if the entire world was covered by the boundless power, and all the air currents were controlled by the hell spear. Even if the three-eyed giant wanted to escape, it would be impossible. Dong. The spear instantly pierced through the three-eyed giant's chest. A huge bloody hole appeared in its chest, and blood flowed to the ground like a rain of blood. The three-eyed giant's huge body, which was originally 20 meters tall, quickly burst like a balloon after being pierced by the spear. Its body rapidly shrank, returning to its original height of 4 or 5 meters. With a bang, it also fell to the ground, twitching non-stop. Its face was pale because the spear had accurately pierced through the three-eyed giant's heart, causing it to explode. Damn it, damn it. But even though one of its hearts had been destroyed, the three-eyed giant's strong vitality didn't kill it. It struggled madly, trying to fight to the death with Xiaoping. Rumor has it that the three-eyed giant's body structure is abnormal, and it has 3 hearts. Xiaoping looked at the three-eyed giant in the distance. Even if one heart is destroyed, there are still 2 hearts that can function normally. Their vitality is extremely strong. I thought it was just a legend, but it turns out to be true. What an eye-opener. He clicked his tongue in admiration. But this was very normal. After all, the three-eyed giant's body was huge, and if they wanted to pour all their blood into every part of their body, they wouldn't be able to do so without a strong heart. Having 3 hearts was like 3 engines that could drive the giant's body. This was also why the three-eyed giant was so strong, far surpassing humans. Moreover, their recovery abilities were extremely strong. Even if one heart was destroyed, as long as the other 3 hearts weren't completely destroyed, they would be able to regenerate within a few days. Because of this, the three-eyed giant was known as the king of the demon race. They had the power to stand at the peak of countless demon races. They didn't fear death and were known as war gods. But since I can destroy one, I can naturally destroy a second and a third. Let's see if you can continue to live after having all 3 hearts destroyed. Xia Ping clenched his fists, staring at the three-eyed giant in front of him, his killing intent surging. Bastard. Hearing this, the three-eyed giant's entire body trembled. It knew that if its 3 hearts were destroyed, it would undoubtedly die. Even if a god descended, it wouldn't be able to save it. Wait. At this moment, the crow of misfortune braced himself and stepped forward. He looked at Xia Ping with a fawning expression. Big brother, can you give me some face and not kill this three-eyed giant? Killing it now won't do you any good. Right, aren't you short on money? I think Big Brother can completely capture it and sell it to the three-eyed giant race after the Sky Demon battlefield is over. It's the young master of the three-eyed giant race. It's extremely talented and can definitely be sold for a good price. In order to protect the three-eyed giant's life, the crow of misfortune had stepped forward to stop Xia Ping, even if it risked being killed by him. After all, a few demon race geniuses had already died. If even the three-eyed giant was killed, the demon race would suffer heavy losses. This was equivalent to the death of a few future demon kings. This was an unbearable burden. Even though the crow of misfortune had once clashed with the three-eyed giant, it naturally knew what to do when faced with the big picture. That makes sense. Hearing this, Xia Ping's eyes immediately lit up. Killing the three-eyed giant now would only remove a threat to him. It wouldn't bring him the greatest benefits. Chapter 675. Of course, killing the three-eyed giant now would incur the hatred of the three-eyed giants and gain a lot of hatred. But how could it compare to capturing the three-eyed giant like a slave and selling it off? Not only would he gain a lot of hatred, but he could also earn a lot of money along the way. This was a plan that would yield many benefits in one fell swoop. Thinking of this, Xia Ping couldn't help but feel a little moved. But hearing these words, the three-eyed giant cried out unwillingly, "A warrior can be killed but not humiliated. I will never become a slave to a damned human like you. Just give up." It couldn't imagine how furious its own people would be if they knew that it had become a human's slave. Its reputation in its own race would plummet, and it would no longer have any chance of inheriting the position of chief. After all, the leader of a clan needed to have an undefeated record and absolute strength. He had once been captured by humans and even became a slave. How could such a person become the leader? Shut up. With a bang, Xia Ping slapped the three-eyed giant's head, slamming its entire body into the deep pit. He said disdainfully, "You're mistaken about one thing. Whether you can become a slave or not is not something you can decide." He felt that the giant still didn't understand its own situation. It was already a prisoner, and its life and death were in his hands. It had no right to speak. Ah! The three-eyed giant was so angry that its lungs were about to explode. But now that Xia Ping's spear had pierced through its heart, and the aura of hell was rampaging through its body, it couldn't use any strength at all. It couldn't even fight back. It could only watch helplessly as Xia Ping bullied it. Stupid giant. The crow of misfortune looked at the struggling and crazy three-eyed giant. He was clearly trying to save this guy's life, but he didn't appreciate it at all. He didn't know how to be grateful. What was the use of so-called honor? If he died, he would have nothing. He wouldn't even be able to get revenge. He might as well endure the humiliation and wait for the right opportunity to make a comeback. That was what a true hero should do. But it's still not appropriate. Xia Ping frowned. This guy is a huge threat and it's unruly. If I wait for it to recover, it will definitely continue to go crazy and cause trouble for me. It's better to kill it now. Although he liked money, if the risks outweighed the benefits, then he might as well kill the three-eyed giant. Anyway, there were so many descendants of the Monster King here. It wouldn't be too late to capture them when the Sky Demon battlefield was over. After all, the Sky Demon battlefield was so dangerous. If the three-eyed giant caused trouble at a critical moment, it would probably bring him fatal trouble. Moreover, the demon control talisman was too expensive. He couldn't afford 20 million hatred points per talisman. No, no, no. Sensing Xia Ping's undisguised killing intent, the Crows of Misfortune immediately said, "Don't worry, my Crows of Misfortune have a secret technique called the Death Contract. It can imbue our death aura onto our enemies. Once the enemy has the aura of death that we have, as long as the enemy wants to escape, it will immediately detonate and blow up into nothingness. It's like installing a time bomb." It said that it had a secret technique to control the three-eyed giant. If the other party dared to act recklessly, it could blow it up into nothingness. "Alright, since you can control it, then I'll leave this matter to you. But if it dares to cause trouble at the critical moment, if you don't kill it, I'll kill you." Xia Ping stared at the Crow of Misfortune, his killing intent like steel. If he discovered that Misfortune dared to disobey his orders, he would kill it immediately. Although it was a member of the Crows of Misfortune and could be exchanged for a large amount of money, it was not irreplaceable. There wasn't much in the Sky Demon battlefield, but there were plenty of Demon Monarch descendants. "Yes, big brother." The Crow of Misfortune's face turned green. It didn't think that it would fall on it. In other words, its life was now tied to the three-eyed giant. If the three-eyed giant caused any trouble, it would definitely be in trouble. But now that it was riding a tiger, it couldn't back down. It couldn't refuse either. It swore in its heart that if the three-eyed giant's brain was still so stupid and stubborn, it would immediately kill it. Half an hour later. Xia Ping didn't know what the Crow of Misfortune said to the three-eyed giant. He only knew that the three-eyed giant soon stopped resisting and obediently let the Crow of Misfortune inject the aura of death into its body. At the same time, the Blackwater explosive bear that Xia Ping had sent flying and the one-horned thunderbull that Xia Ping had sent flying were extremely lucky. They were only seriously injured and not killed. Therefore, these two became Xia Ping's prisoners and obediently let the Crow of Misfortune plant the aura of death in them. Now that I have 4 Demon Monarch descendants in my hands, if I extort 500 billion federal coins from each of them, that's 2 trillion federal coins. Xia Ping thought happily. If I capture a few Demon Monarch descendants, I believe I can quickly gather enough money. He originally thought that it would take him a long time to earn 5 trillion federal coins, but now it seemed that he could completely solve this problem by kidnapping a few Demon Monarch descendants. However, kidnapping Demon Monarch descendants was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. After all, these Demon Monarch descendants usually lived in Myriad Demon Mountain. That was where the demons resided. There were groups of Demon Monarchs, so how could he have such a good opportunity to encounter them? It was only when he entered the Sky Demon battlefield that he could capture these Demon Monarch descendants so easily without the protection of Demon Monarchs. It could be said that if he missed this opportunity, there might not be another one. By the way, where are your demon brothers? Xia Ping immediately looked at the Crow of Misfortune and the other demons. The three-eyed giant clearly sensed the human's evil gaze and asked warily, "What do you want?" "Nothing much. I just want to chat with them, get to know them, said Xia Ping casually, indicating that he didn't have any ill intentions. "Get to know them, my ass." The three-eyed giant and the other demons spat at the bastard. How could they not know what this damn human was thinking? He was clearly thirsting for more. Knowing that kidnapping Demon Monarch descendants was beneficial, he still wanted to capture a few more. If they were to leak the whereabouts of their demon brothers, they would probably be wiped out by this shameless human. They would be captured and made into his slaves. "I don't know. We have long been separated in the Sky Demon battlefield. I don't know where the other demon brothers are." The three-eyed giant and the other demons had livid expressions. They could not divulge this information even if they were beaten to death. Otherwise, they had no idea how many Demon Monarch descendants would suffer under this bastard human's hands. "Yes, we don't know anything." The Single-Horned Thunderbull and Blackwater Grizzly shouted as well. They looked guilty. They were afraid of Xia Ping's beating. "Who is it?" Chapter 676. The shadowy figure in the forest seemed to have not expected that she would be discovered. Whoosh. After hearing Xia Ping's shout, she instantly left. "Trying to run? In your dreams." Xia Ping's eyes flashed with a cold light. He used the Kunping steps. His whole body was like a big bird with wings on his back. He controlled the airflow and flew hundreds of meters in an instant, entering the forest. Suddenly, he saw a beautiful figure appear in the forest. Her body was exquisite and curvaceous. She was extremely arrogant and provocative. She seemed to be a woman of calamity. Ah! The The woman seemed to have not expected Xia Ping to come so quickly. She was so scared that she immediately ran away. She stepped on the ground as if she was stepping on air, creating a strong airflow. In the blink of an eye, she was hundreds of meters away, breaking the sound barrier. She obviously had no wings, but she was walking in the air. It seemed that the air had condensed into a solid substance, turning into steps under her feet. She walked in the air casually. Even her movement technique had reached a superb level. Even though she was in the forest and there were many trees blocking her, they could not stop her at all. With a slight movement, she flashed over. So fast. Xia Ping was a little surprised. He could be considered to have seen a lot of strong people, but he had never seen such a fast speed. She could be considered the fastest among the people of the same generation that he had seen. But he still chased after her. He used the Kunpeng steps and caught up in an instant. His steps were different from the mysterious woman's. The mysterious woman's steps were exquisite, while Xia Ping's were violent. He was like a Kunpeng divine beast, directly crushing his way. The trees, boulders and other obstacles were instantly crushed by the strong airflow wrapped around his body. The forest that was originally full of obstacles was now forcibly crushed by Xia Ping into a straight line. "Bastard, why are you chasing me? I didn't do anything to you." The woman was shocked. She did not expect Xia Ping to be so violent. There was no sense of beauty, but he was extremely fast. Even though her steps were exquisite and her speed was strangely fast, she more or less took some detours. How could she be like Xia Ping, advancing in a straight line and crushing his way? Who knew how many detours he took? The distance between the two of them was instantly shortened. "Stop, let's talk. I won't hurt you, I'm a gentleman." Xia Ping shouted, hoping that the other party would stop and surrender. He expressed that he wouldn't hurt the other party. "Who would believe you, liar, thug?" Hearing this, not only did the woman not stop, but she slipped even faster. It was as if she had used all her strength, and her speed was even faster than before. This was because she had been in the forest just now, but she had seen this guy's violent methods. He had instantly killed 3 monsters. He was so savage that he was even more savage than monsters. She couldn't imagine what would happen to her if she fell into the hands of this human. "It's even faster?" At this time, Xia Ping was very surprised. He didn't expect that even with the speed of the Kunpeng steps, he would lose to this woman. This was simply unprecedented. However, it was impossible to let this guy with ulterior motives escape. "Since you don't want to stop, I'll use some forceful methods." Xia Ping instantly took out the moon-shooting bow, drew the bow and knocked an arrow. At an extremely fast speed, he circulated the earth energy in his body and condensed the bow and arrow. In the blink of an eye, he immediately shot out more than a dozen arrows condensed from earth energy. They contained the power of annihilation and could penetrate everything. This speed was several times faster than the woman's speed. After all, how could the speed of the arrows be compared to the speed of ordinary creatures? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The arrows shot in all directions, immediately surrounding the mysterious woman. Although they didn't aim at her vitals, they blocked the way forward of the woman, making it impossible for her to escape. "Ah!" Immediately, the woman cried out in surprise. She didn't expect Xia Ping to have such a method. Caught off guard, her whole body was attacked by the arrows. The arrows contained great power, and in an instant, her whole body was hit by the arrows. Bang! In the next second, her whole body smashed into a distant tree that at least 20 to 30 people could wrap their arms around. Immediately, the clothes around her hands and feet were filled with arrows. Immediately, the arrows sealed her whole body and nailed her to the tree, unable to move. Whoosh! In a flash, Xia Ping immediately appeared in front of the woman. "Huh? She's not human?" Xia Ping narrowed his eyes. What appeared in front of him was the appearance of a woman. She was extremely beautiful, and her white skin was as smooth as silk without any marks. She had a pair of long legs, a tall and alluring figure and an extremely hot body. Xian was practically breaking the rules, completely violating the laws of gravity in the sky realm. She was extremely proud and tall. On her head were 2 fluffy rabbit ears that were more than 10 centimeters long. She had a pair of red watery eyes that emitted a pitiful aura. At this moment, her beautiful eyes were looking at Xia Ping in horror, as if she was looking at a great demon king. She was afraid that Xia Ping would catch her and do such indescribable things to her. "You're a demon of the rabbit race?" Xia Ping raised his eyebrows and looked at the girl. The girl didn't speak, only looking at Xia Ping in horror. Her legs kept struggling, trying to escape, but at this time she was so scared that her legs were weak. She had no strength left, so it was impossible for her to escape. "What's your name?" Xiaoping asked again. But the rabbit girl still didn't speak. Seeing Xiaoping approaching, she was even more afraid. If you don't speak, I'll eat you. Xiaoping bared his teeth. No, 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 I don't taste good. I don't taste good at all. Don't eat me. Eat carrot. That's delicious food. The rabbit girl was terrified and started crying. Xiaoping was speechless. He was a carnivore and she actually wanted him to eat carrots. Wasn't that asking for trouble? Don't cry. If you cry again, I'll eat you. I'll roast you. Xiaoping revealed a cruel expression and even said he wanted to roast her. The rabbit girl immediately shut her mouth and suppressed her crying, but she still sobbed from time to time. Big pearl-like tears fell and the parts that broke the rules rose and fell. She was completely terrified. She couldn't imagine what would happen if she was roasted and eaten by this terrifying human. As expected, the family elder was right. Humans were terrifying creatures. If they didn't listen, they would be caught and eaten by evil and cruel humans. Seeing that the rabbit girl had stopped crying, Xiaoping immediately asked, "Speak. What's your name?" Chapter 677. Tu Linglong? Very good. Xiaoping nodded. Tell me, what were you trying to do by peeping at us? Are you up to something? Are you going to confess right now? Leniency for those who confess, severity for those who resist. He looked at Tu Linglong. I was just passing by. Tu Linglong was filled with regret. If she had known that this human was so cruel, she wouldn't have gone over to watch out of curiosity. Previously, when she sensed the intense battle fluctuations coming from this place, she was curious about what was going on. She saw that the human was killing in all directions. Even the terrifying great monsters like the three-eyed giant were no match for him, and several of them even died. Even if they survived, they were enslaved by the human and ended up in a miserable state. Just when she was shocked and thought that the situation wasn't good, she wanted to sneak away, but she didn't expect that she would be discovered by the cruel human. What made her even more terrified was that the speed that she was so proud of couldn't get rid of the human at all. She was even caught by the evil human on the spot. She didn't know what would happen to her in the future. Passing by? I don't believe you. You must be lying, Xiaoping said with certainty. Tu Linglong hurriedly said, No, I'm not lying. I can also swear that if I lie, I won't have carrots to eat in the future. She made a vicious oath. You can make such a vicious oath? It seems that you're telling the truth. Xiaoping raised his brows. Hearing this, Tu Linglong was overjoyed. You believe me? That's great. Since the misunderstanding has been resolved, let me go. She couldn't wait to leave this human demon. Go? Why do you want to go? You're already mine. Xiaoping said very domineeringly, whether you're really passing by or have ulterior motives, now that you've fallen into my hands, you're mine. Don't run away from me in the future. Just stay by my side and be my maid. From now on, you'll pour tea and water for me, wash my clothes and make my bed. If you do well, you'll have food to eat. If you don't, you won't have anything to eat. Do you understand? He put on the appearance of a slave owner. There was no doubt that this little girl was a descendant of a demon king. If he captured her and blackmailed her, he would gain a large sum of money. How could he let her escape so easily? Shameless. All of a sudden, Tu Linglong's power burst forth, shattering the surrounding arrows. Her entire body flew over, her smooth long leg kicking towards Xiaoping. Xiaoping didn't even bother to look at it. He slapped out with his palm, blocking in front of him. Dong. Suddenly, a vast power erupted from Tu Linglong's thigh. Xiaoping felt that this power was even more terrifying than the three-eyed giant's power. Even his dark north body protection technique could not completely remove it, and his whole body also took a dozen steps back. Why is this chick so strong? Xiaoping was a little alarmed. Normally speaking, a rabbit demon would not have such great strength. The only explanation was that this rabbit clan young lady was a mutated breed. Even among the rabbit clan, she was considered an extremely noble existence. Xiaoping grew excited. The more noble and rare an existence was, the more valuable it would be. The rabbit girl was startled. She was very proud of her strength, especially the strength of her legs. Even the giant race couldn't compare to her. With a single kick, a small mountain would collapse. It had the power of heaven's leg crippling. But this insane human actually blocked it with his bare hands. It was too exaggerated. Since her attack missed, she didn't dare to stay at this place. She turned and fled into the distance. Trying to run? It's too late. How could Xiaoping let this rabbit girl escape? He struck out and slapped out. With a dong, the rabbit girl screamed. She was slapped on the body. A wave of earth energy surged into her limbs and bones, causing her entire body to go limp. All right, you can't run now, right? Xia Ping came in front of the rabbit girl with a smile. He stretched out his hand and grabbed her rabbit ears, rubbing them curiously. Ah! Tu Linglong's face instantly turned red like a tomato, and her beautiful eyes were filled with shyness, indignation, humiliation, and other emotions. It seemed that this move made her even weaker than Xia Ping's palm. Interesting. Xia Ping rubbed his chin. Legend has it that the rabbit's ear is the most sensitive part and cannot be touched. I didn't expect it to be true. Pervert, shameless human. Tu Linglong let loose a torrent of abuse as she glared at Xia Ping with grief and indignation in her beautiful eyes. She had never been treated like this before. Cut the crap. Come back with me. Regardless of Tu Linglong's thoughts, Xia Ping immediately picked her up by the waist and left the place in an instant. A few minutes later he returned to his original spot. The Crow of Misfortune and the other demons were also waiting there. Soon they noticed a rabbit girl in Xia Ping's arms. The rabbit holy maiden, Tu Linglong? The three-eyed giant couldn't help but exclaim. He looked at the girl in Xia Ping's arms in disbelief, unable to hide the shock in his heart. The rabbit holy maiden? Interesting. Looks like this chick has some background. Tell me about her background in detail. Xia Ping raised his brows and immediately asked. The three-eyed giant's intestines turned green with regret. If he had known this would happen, he wouldn't have said such a thing. Great, now that Xia Ping knew this secret, there was no way this rabbit girl could escape. It had no choice. Since it was already exposed, there was no way it could continue to hide. It explained in detail that this chick was the noblest holy maiden of the rabbit clan. She could be said to be the future clan leader. She was extremely talented and was a rare space-time rabbit of the rabbit clan. Once her talent was awakened, she would have the ability to control space-time and jump in the void at will. Even if she hadn't awakened her talent yet, her speed, strength, and aptitude far surpassed her peers in the rabbit clan. Even many geniuses of the demon clan were far inferior to her. It was completely unimaginable how powerful Tu Linglong would become if she advanced to the monarch realm. She might even become the most powerful demon king in the history of the rabbit clan. Hence, Tu Linglong became the rabbit holy maiden and had a respected status. Space-time rabbit? Xia Ping's eyes lit up when he heard this. He instinctively felt that this was an extraordinary talent. The rabbit clan wasn't a weak clan on Earth. They were an extremely powerful demon clan in the cloud realm. First of all, their reproductive ability was extremely terrifying. They could give birth to more than 10 children in a litter, and they could give birth to a litter every few months. On Earth, rabbits were synonymous with their reproductive ability. If there were no natural enemies, there would be a rabbit standing on every square meter of the entire Earth in 100 years. It was even more so in this world. The rabbit clan had become a demon clan and possessed overbearing strength. Coupled with their unimaginable reproductive ability, they were one of the top demon clans. They were a race that was on par with the tiger clan, rat clan, elephant clan, and other races. Chapter 678. Shameless human, what are you looking at? Tu Linglong said guiltily. She felt that the way Xia Ping was looking at her was very strange. It was as if he was looking at a large gold ingot. It was completely the symbol of money. Smack. Xia Ping knocked the back of her head and said with a straight face, "What shameless human? Is this something a servant like you can call me? Do you know the etiquette of a servant? You should call me master." Master. Tu Linglong's beautiful eyes were spewing fire when she heard that. She was the rabbit race's saintess. She had a high status and was loved by countless seniors. How could she call a despicable human master? The three-eyed giant, Blackwater explosive bear, and single-horned thunder bull were extremely indignant. Tu Linglong was one of the demon race's saintesses. Countless prodigies of the demon race adored her, but she had been captured by this despicable human. They didn't know what would happen to her in the future. They couldn't imagine how furious the other prodigies of the demon race would be after finding out about this. They probably even wanted to chop Xia Ping into a dozen pieces. Stop dreaming. I won't call you master even if you beat me to death. Tu Linglong was indignant. She put on an unyielding expression, and she definitely wouldn't submit to this despicable human's power. Forget it if you don't want to call me that. I'll take off your clothes later and check if you've developed well. Of course, I'm doing this purely as an academic research. Xia Ping said carelessly. Bullshit. The three-eyed giant and the other demons were driven mad. They had never seen such a shameless human. He was clearly molesting the demon saintess, but from his mouth, he said that it was a body inspection, a form of academic research. What was there to research? Moreover, did Tu Linglong need to develop? Based on her fiery figure, she would have developed too much a long time ago. It was unknown how many females were envious and jealous of her. I'll scream, all right? Tu Linglong was indignant. She was scared half to death by Xiaoping's words. If this bastard human really did such a thing, her innocence as the rabbit race's saintess would be gone. If that happened, the entire rabbit race's reputation would probably be ruined. Didn't you say that you wouldn't scream even if you were beaten to death? Xiaoping smiled at Tu Linglong. Tu Linglong's face flushed even redder than a tomato. She wanted nothing more than to bury her head in the ground like an ostrich. She was so angry that she almost died. If it wasn't for you, a despicable human, forcing me, how could I have surrendered? I can only say that humans are too despicable. They are indeed the most shameless and evil race in the world, eating meat without spitting out the bones. I'm sorry, master. I was wrong. Tu Linglong's voice was as soft as a mosquito's. She felt that this was the most humiliating moment in her life. Not bad. You have to get used to it and even get used to it, understand? Xiaoping was very satisfied. Only a ghost would be used to it. Tu Linglong secretly spat at Xiaoping. She decided to temporarily pretend to be submissive to him to make this human lower his guard, and when Xiaoping wasn't paying attention, she would quickly slip away. Big brother. At this moment, the crow of misfortune stepped forward with a flattering look on its face. Do you want me to plant a death contract on her and completely control her? That way she won't be able to escape. It stepped forward in a timely manner and offered up its plan like a lackey. Demon. Fuck, he's definitely a demon. The three-eyed giant and the other monster's eyes turned green. This bastard crow of misfortune was really touching a sore spot. If it hadn't mentioned this matter, perhaps this human would have forgotten about it. But now that it was mentioned, how could this human forget? Wasn't he pushing Tu Linglong into a pit of fire? Tu Linglong also glared at the crow of misfortune. She wanted nothing more than to roast this black bird. A bunch of idiots. The crow of misfortune ignored the surrounding gazes and sneered in its heart. It knew how treacherous this human Xiaoping was. He was so bad that he used pus. He was scheming and full of tricks. This was the kind of slut that described him. It was impossible for him to forget about this matter. Hence, it volunteered to confess. This way it could obtain this human's praise and live a more comfortable life. Perhaps it could take advantage of this human's carelessness to leave him. However, if it didn't say anything, it would miss this opportunity to suck up to him. Death contract? Honestly, what kind of secret technique is this? Can I learn it? Xiaoping asked. He was very curious about this secret technique of the crows of misfortune. If he could learn it, he wouldn't need the crow of misfortune's help at all. He could do it directly and it might be safer that way. This is the secret technique of my crows of misfortune. It fuses mental power and astral energy together to condense an energy rune, the crow of misfortune explained. Then this energy rune enters the enemy's body. It's like installing a time bomb in the enemy's body. As long as it's within the range of my mental power, it can immediately detonate once the enemy tries to escape. It indicated that it was very difficult to learn this secret technique. The future was that one needed majestic soul power. Otherwise, it would be impossible to condense energy runes. The crows of misfortune were experts in controlling souls. As a race from hell, their soul power was much stronger than other monsters, and they could freely use such soul power. Secondly, one's body must have a violent energy aura. Only then would it have the power to blow up the enemy's body. Gentle energy could not have such power. Hearing this, Xiaoping's eyes lit up. He had fulfilled the first condition. He believed that with his soul power, he would not be any weaker than the crow of misfortune. He might even be stronger. This was not a problem at all. Secondly, was there any energy in this world that was more violent than the sun essence refined by his pure yang immortal art? Once it exploded, it would probably have the power of a volcano eruption. Therefore, he immediately asked the crow of misfortune about this secret technique. He wanted to learn it quickly. The crow of misfortune thought that Xiaoping had no way of learning this secret technique of the crows of misfortune. Therefore it did not care. It told him about this secret technique, believing that this human would soon give up. However, an hour later, Xiaoping succeeded. Relying on his powerful soul power, he quickly comprehended the true mysteries of the death contract. Boom. Xia Ping grabbed with his hand. On his right hand, a fireball was slowly rotating. The runes intertwined with each other as if there were chains of order wrapped around it. It contained a violent power. Countless flames collided in this fireball, as if it was sealing a fire dragon. His mental power also formed a connection with this talisman. As long as it was within the range of his mental power, he could immediately detonate it. It could be said that this power was no less than the explosion of 100 tons of bombs. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.